This podcast of the Equine Forum is brought to you by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business. It all begins in 15 seconds right after this word from our podcast sponsor.
The University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business is now offering a graduate certificate, which can be completed in 15 or 30 weeks and be done as a standalone or used as 20% of your MBA. Classes at both the undergraduate and graduate level are forming now for August.
From the rail to your radio, this is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Nyquist has moved away. Mohaymen has no answer today. On the inside is Mahesto, and then comes Fellowship. Nyquist drifting out to the center of the track, but he's far in front. And Nyquist is still unbeaten. He has won the Florida Derby.
Always Dreaming, set down for the drive by John Velasquez, and he's moving away. State of Honor is up into second, an impressive edge. Guinevere too little, too late, but inside the 16th pole, the 2017 Florida Derby to Todd Pletcher, and Always Dreaming. They won it by 4 in the end.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
There's an eighth of a mile to go, and American Pharoah is putting on a show. He has not been asked the question, but everyone knows the answer. He is indeed the ruler. American Pharoah, breathtaking in a mesmerizing performance as he dominates the Arkansas Derby.
Smarty Jones leads it by 3.5 and is pulling away. They're driving toward the wire. It is Smarty Jones by 3. Borrego trying to make one lane move. Pro Prado at the rail. Smarty Jones leading by 2. It is Smarty Jones. One step more to Kentucky and one giant step to $5 million.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. Happy Florida Derby Day and Arkansas Derby Day. Edging closer to the first Saturday in May. Now, just 35 days, 10 hours, 43 minutes, and 23 seconds away from the run for the Roses. You don't have to wait that long for the Equine Forum this morning, though, because it is indeed post time for this show. It is the show that launched a network, and it is all presented by TwinSpires and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. And happy to have all of you with me here this morning. Mike Penna, Baron in the backstretch with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. If Forte were not running in today's Florida Derby, would we consider that race or the Arkansas Derby to have the deeper group of Kentucky Derby contenders? There are 12 horses entered in the Florida Derby, 11 in the Arkansas Derby. And when it comes to Derby prep races, no race, none, has been better at producing the winner of the Kentucky Derby than the Florida Derby. It's happened 24 times. Just 7 horses have used the Arkansas Derby as a stepping stone to success on the first Saturday in May. But I think it would be very difficult to make the case that this year's Florida Derby has the deeper group of Kentucky Derby prospects. It has the biggest star in the 3-year-old division right now. And yes, because of that, the Florida Derby may very well have the Kentucky Derby winner again this year. Certainly the Derby favorite if Forte were to win later today. But if Forte were not running in today's Florida Derby, which race would have the deeper or the more prolific group of Kentucky Derby contenders? Well, other than Forte, there was only one other horse with a stakes win on their resume in the Florida Derby. That's WNL, winner of the Grade 2 Remsen over a sloppy track at Aqueduct in December. Of the other 10 horses in that race, 7 have just a maiden win to their credit. Haven't even won an allowance race yet. 1 is still a maiden, and 2, Cyclone Mischief and Shaq Diesel, show multiple wins on their resumes, but none of those wins have come against stakes company. When you look at the Arkansas Derby in that 11-horse field, more than half come into today's race with only a maiden win on their resume, 6 of those to be exact. Among the other 5 that have won multiple races, you have Grade 2 Risen Star winner Angel of Empire. You have Rocket Can, who won the Grade 3 Holy Bull in early February, and Reincarnate, who scored in the Grade 3 Sham at Santa Anita in January. So I really do think it's hard to go against the Arkansas Derby if you're going to compare those fields head-to-head. And what do we do with last weekend's Derby points races? What about those? Should we be buying or selling the winners of those races? And I'm going to bring up that same question with Dale and Tim in the final segment of today's show. I Ask, They Answer at 10:30 Eastern. But here's my take. I'm not ready to buy UAE Derby winner Derma Sotogake or 35-1 Sunland Derby upsetter Wild on Ice. The UAE Derby, I told you this last week, the UAE Derby still has to prove that you can make that move work. 18 horses have prepped in Dubai and started in the Kentucky Derby. None of them, not a single one, have hit the board. Their best finish is a 5th, Master of Hounds. But I will say that if it's going to happen, the Japanese, boy, they've really started to figure this thing out, haven't they? And they are going to be a major player. I don't think this is a fluke. Go back 2 years ago to the Breeders' Cup and their first Breeders' Cup wins. And they dominated the world stage in a few of those races. I don't think Japan has really figured this thing out. So it might not be the worst stab in the world to hop on the Derma Sotogake bandwagon. Say that 10 times fast. But I'm not ready to do that yet. I want to see the UAE Derby prove to me that move, shipping all the way here from Dubai and running right back in the Kentucky Derby. Think about it. When horses go over to Dubai to compete in the Dubai World Cup or any of the races on that program, are American horses. When they come back here, they're getting a little bit of a break. So many trainers and owners have told us over the years, right here on this very same program, that can take a lot out of a horse. Not just the race itself, but the travel over there and the travel back. It's not easy on a horse. So to come from the UAE Derby, stay in training, get over here, go through quarantine and all the different things that the foreign horses have to go through, and then show up in relatively short order without getting a break coming from Dubai, and have to run your big race on the first Saturday of May against the best 3-year-olds that we have in training in a 20-horse field, it ain't easy. So for me, I want to see the UAE Derby prove that move can work. And for people who like Wild on Ice, the winner of the Sunland Derby, they're probably going to make the Mind That Bird argument, right? Mind That Bird came from the Sunland Derby. He didn't win it that year. And then he wins the Kentucky Derby. He had a movie made about him, 50-1. And that's all true. But Mind That Bird had a lot of success in his 2-year-old campaign. Think back on that. You'll forget about that. Mind That Bird was a grade 3 winning 2-year-old up at Woodbine. And he actually won 3 stakes races during his juvenile campaign. Wild on Ice, he hasn't had that same type of success so far in his young career. This was his shining moment. So I'm going to sell Wild on Ice as being a legit Kentucky Derby contender, regardless of folks that want to make the Mind That Bird argument. I'm also not ready to buy Louisiana Derby winner Kings Barnes. And that may be somewhat surprising to many people, because I know a lot of people were talking about that race on social media and in other platforms afterwards. Yeah, he won the Louisiana Derby easily, but Kings Barnes also got a clear lead with very modest fractions, and I'm being kind. That's not likely to happen in a 20-horse Kentucky Derby field. So I'm going to sell Kings Barnes. That leaves us with just Jeff Ruby Stakes winner 2 fills. And here's where it gets a little interesting for me. I have one hand on my wallet, and I'm ready to pull out some cash because I want to buy 2 fills. But I also want to see what happens in today's Arkansas Derby before I make that call. The 2 biggest wins of 2 fills' career have come on a sloppy track at Churchill Downs when he won the Grade 3 Street Sense last fall. He also won, of course, on an artificial surface at Turfway last weekend. But he wasn't disgraced when he was facing Angel of Empire last time out in the Risen Star. So if Angel of Empire wins the Arkansas Derby today, especially if he does it convincingly, I will take a flyer and buy 2 fills. But 2 fills was also finishing behind Instant Coffee and Sun Thunder in his 2 starts at Fairgrounds this winter, both of whom were very, very disappointing in last weekend's Louisiana Derby. So if Angel of Empire throws in a clunker today, I won't be taking that flyer on 2 fills, as it's going to appear as if the horses he was facing all winter were pretenders rather than contenders. So I'll wait on 2 fills. Let's see what happens with Angel of Empire today. I want to know your thoughts on these prep races. Let's just take the Arkansas Derby for today, because I think if I asked you your pick to win the Florida Derby, well, Forte is going to be he's 4-5 on the morning line. He's going to be a runaway winner. So who is your pick to win today's Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn? Who is your pick to win the Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn today? You can comment to us at HRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, Mike@horseracingradio.net. And what I'll do, I'll give you some choices too. Let's make it easy. Do you like Reincarnate? Do you like Rocket Can, Angel of Empire, or Other? And if you choose Other, specify which other horse outside of those top 3 you think can win the Arkansas Derby this afternoon. Go to @HRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. Reincarnate, Rocket Can, Angel of Empire, or Other. If you think it's somebody else, make sure you specify and let me know who you think it is. All right, so here's what's coming up. Ron Nicoletti is going to handicap all the Gulfstream stakes for you today. It's a loaded program. 10 stakes, 5 of those are graded. Ronnie's going to be with me at 8:35 Eastern from Gulfstream Park to walk through each of those. He's always fantastic when he joins me here on the show. Going to look ahead to opening weekend at Keeneland. That comes up on Friday, Saturday, not Sunday because of Easter Sunday. Shannon Arvin, the president of Keeneland, will be with me at 9 o'clock to preview the meet. 9:20, Unsung Heroes, presented by Woodbine Entertainment. Sonny Taylor is this week's Unsung Hero, a name that many of you might not be familiar with, but if you've spent any time around the racetracks in New York over the past nearly 60 years, you know Sonny Taylor. And he is a true unsung hero, going to be retiring from his role at NYRA after 58 years. And he'll do that coming up on Sunday, tomorrow, his final day. So I thought, who better to have as an unsung hero than Sonny Taylor? So stay tuned for that at 9:20. 9:40, Hall of Fame jockey Eddie Delahoussaye, 2-time winner of the Arkansas Derby. Of course, he did it with Sonny's Halo, who went on to win the Kentucky Derby 40 years ago, by the way. This is the 40-year anniversary. Eddie's going to be with me at 9:40. Not only will he look back on his 2 Arkansas Derby wins and talk about the magical journey he had with Sonny's Halo, but he's going to take you inside this year's Arkansas Derby from the perspective of a Hall of Fame jockey. He's going to tell you which horse Eddie Delahoussaye would ride if he were riding in today's Arkansas Derby, and he'll tell you why he chooses that horse. Should be really interesting to go inside the race, in the saddle, if you will, with Eddie Delahoussaye in that final segment of Hour 2. Hour 3 begins with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Vance Hanson will do the honors this week. 3 races you can keep an eye on later today. Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20, and at 10:30, I ask, they answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin. When I come back, going to take a look at some memorable moments in Florida Derby history. I think you're really going to enjoy this. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Airdrie Stud is proud to announce the arrival of Grade 1 winning millionaire Happy Saver for the 2023 season. Happy Saver boasts one of the most important female families of the century, as his third dam is Broodmare of the Year Weekend Surprise, dam of the legendary AP Indy. Undefeated in his first 5 starts, Happy Saver capped off his perfect 4-for-4 season with an emphatic victory in the historic Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup.
And Happy Saver stays undefeated. He steps up and he wins the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Airdrie Studs, Happy Saver. Think about it.
It's that time of year again. The Keeneland Spring Meet is back. We hope to see you on opening day, Friday, April 7th. Make sure to pre-purchase tickets to join your friends and family for world-class racing at Keeneland. Gates open at 11. First post at 1 o'clock. Visit Keeneland.com for a full schedule of races and events. And be sure to download the Keeneland Race Day app before you go. See you there.
There's plenty of thrills at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet with live racing Wednesday through Sunday. Don't miss the Triple Crown prep races, including the Fountain of Youth Stakes on March 4th and the Florida Derby Saturday, April 1st. Enjoy the races outdoors from the Carousel Club, our Feast in 10 Palms, offering a premium view of the races. For stake schedules, reservations, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Adina Stallions set the gold standard, all number 1 in their category. Point of entry, the number 1 stallion by black type and greatest stakes winners standing in Canada.
Oh, the classy point of entry would not be denied.
Shaman Ghost, the number 1 second crop sire standing in Canada.
It's Shaman Ghost, an overwhelming force in the last 16th of a mile.
Signature Red, the number 1 stallion by percentage of black type winners standing in Canada.
Signature Red won his second Highlander in a row.
And Silent Name, the number 1 stallion by percentage of black type performers standing in Canada. A list that includes Grade 1 winner Silent Poet.
Silent Poet in front, Admiralty Pier out the ground, but Silent Poet has won the Highlander Stakes.
And don't forget Adina's new sire, American Guru. His first crop are now yearlings of 2023. American Guru, the son of Unbridled Song, whose family have already set their gold standards around the world.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
In the blue cap toward the outside, Storm Tower has the lead by ahead, but on the inside, Bull in the Heather. Now Bull in the Heather along the inside takes command and draws clear. It's Bull in the Heather with Roberto Ramos winning the Florida Derby by 2 lengths.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on this Florida Derby and Arkansas Derby day, edging closer to the first Saturday in May. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, happy to have you along for the ride right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. That was Dave Johnson with that quick stretch call of Bull in the Heather winning the Florida Derby 1993, 30 years ago. Bull in the Heather delivering in that moment. You know, Bull in the Heather is a really interesting story. And in this next segment here, I'm going to regale you, if you will, with some stories of Florida Derby lore. Dave Joseph, the publicity director at Gulfstream Park, sent out a really fun press release this week with several anecdotes pertaining to moments in Florida Derby history. And keep in mind, the Florida Derby was contested for the first time in 1952. The average household income at that time, as Dave points out in his article, was $3,515. Only 1 in 3 families at that time had a television, and Dolly Parton was 6 years old in 1952. Well, Bull in the Heather winning that race in 1993. Arthur Klein, who was an electrical contractor from New York, wasn't going to buy any yearling in 1991 for more than $70,000. Then he saw Bull in the Heather, and he had this really interesting quote. He said, he looked me in the eye and said, I will beat anything on earth, and I don't care if you buy me or not. He ends up purchasing the son of Kentucky Derby winner Ferdinand for $130,000, well above his $70,000 budget. It didn't look like the best of investments early on because Bull in the Heather won only 1 of his first 6 starts and entered the 1993 Florida Derby as a 30-1 long shot, but over a sloppy track and an intermittent rain showers, Bull in the Heather certainly delivered. And immediately after the Derby, Klein was offered $2 million for Bull in the Heather. He didn't take the money. The offer was rescinded when Klein asked for $2.5 million. Of course, Bull in the Heather would go on to win only one more race in his final 26 starts. So maybe that $2 million actually wasn't looking all that bad. Dave Joseph also pointed out that Bull in the Heather, and I forgot about this part of the story, had a song named after him. As Dave said, the revered experimental band Sonic Youth named his song Bull in the Heather. Not so much for the horse, really. They just simply liked that name as a song title. So Bull in the Heather, an interesting story. 1998 was another interesting story. The 1998 Florida Derby was actually described by one writer as having more thrills and chills than a three-ring circus. Lil's Lad, owned in part by the very colorful Murray Durst, entered the race the heavy favorite off his victory in the Fountain of Youth, and he did cross the finish line a nose in front of Cape Town, and it sounded just like this.
And Lil's Lad has regained the lead. Coronella's Quest out of it. Here comes Cape Town on the outside. Lil's Lad and Cape Town to the wire. Lil's Lad, I believe, held on to win it in a tight photo.
Yeah, Lil's Lad did hold on to win in a tight photo. He did cross the finish line first, but the race was marred when Lil's Lad, who was ridden by Jerry Bally, and Coronado's Quest brushed and bumped repeatedly around the far turn. But after putting away Coronado's Quest, Lil's Lad interfered with Cape Town inside the final eighth of a mile. Well, stewards spent a lot of time looking at Lil's Lad, took him down, and declared Cape Town the victor. And for Jerry Bally, it was really a case of Lil's Lad mistaking Cape Town for Coronado's Quest, because he said after the race, Coronado's Quest laid all over Lil's Lad. Bally said, bumped him 5-6 times hard around the turn. I struggled to keep my horse straight, but as soon as he saw Cape Town, he dove out to get him, thinking it was Coronado's Quest. He was still fighting. He was really mad. That's the quote from Jerry Bally after the race. Coronado's Quest, of course, was a bit of a bad actor himself. He developed a reputation for being unruly, freezing on the way to the track and forcing jockey Robbie Davis to dismount before the race. He ended up finishing 5th in that race. So that was kind of fun. In 2000, Harold Rose approached the winner's circle that March afternoon in 2000, swathed in hugs and kisses and cheers. The ovation started in the cheap seats of the grandstand and built to a crescendo of heartfelt affection by the time the 88-year-old greeted his Florida Derby winner, Hales Hope. With tears in his eyes, Rose said, "I have realized part of a dream to win the Florida Derby." And this is the way it sounded that day.
When they leave the backstretch, and Hales Hope is back in front by a length and a half. High Yield can't go with this Cinderella story, and Hales Hope leads to the quarter pole by a length and a half. Now High Yield shifts to the outside, and here he comes again. High Yield re-engages, and they head for home in the 49. Florida Derby, and this time High Yield means business. High Yield and Hales Hope, these two match strides. 4 lengths to Dakota Hills, and they come to mid-stretch. High Yield to the outside. Hales Hope all parked down at the rail. They will decide the Florida Derby. High Yield ahead in front. Hales Hope counter punches to the inside. Hales Hope, High Yield to the outside. Hales Hope, yes! Hales Hope and Roger Velez beat High Yield in the Florida Derby. Dakota Hills was third. A mile and an eighth in 1:51 and 2.
Yeah, as cool as that story was, the horse himself was a fantastic story. That was Vic Stauffer, by the way, with the call. The human element, the connections surrounding Hales Hope were even greater. Because for 3 decades, Harold Rose plugged away as a trainer. If you recall, he trained mostly claimers. And he loved that life, rising in the darkness, arriving at his barn at 4:30 a.m. But just 8 months ago, while driving to the barn, his car broke down. And so did his heart, because he was revived by paramedics. Rose underwent quadruple bypass surgery. 3 weeks after the surgery, he was back at his barn at 4:30 a.m. and admitted it was the good ones that kept him going, like the Grade 1 stakes place Rexon's Hope and Bonnie Misswinter Mia's Hope. And now he thought his modest homebred Hal's Hope could win the Florida Derby. So all of this takes place. And then against High Yield, who was a $1 million yearling, trained by D. Wayne Lucas, who was on a roll at that time. It was a true David versus Goliath type of story. And David beat Goliath by a head. And so Harold Rose and his wife of 65 years, Elsie, they celebrated, and Lucas looked on with a bit of a faint smile and said, quote, "Heck, if I was going to lose, there was nobody I'd rather lose to than Mr. Rose." So the human connections, the human story surrounding Hal's Hope was just absolutely fantastic in that year's Florida Derby. It was pretty good in 2010, too, because in 2010, Hall of Fame trainer Nick Zito entered Robert LaPenta's long shot Icebox in the Florida Derby. After drawing post number 8 in the 11-horse field, LaPenta admitted, "We were actually thinking of scratching him. But despite the draw and despite being so outrun early that he wasn't even in camera range, Icebox rallied down the stretch." And this is the way it sounded in 2010.
Down on the inside, Game On Dude is in fourth. Pleasant Prince is next, and then comes First Dude, and Icebox is beginning to pick it up. Icebox is gaining with a wide trip at the top of the stretch. It is Rule in front, and Rule comes down to the 8th pole with a 2-length lead. Pleasant Prince, Icebox with giant strides on the far outside, and here come Jose Lezcano and Icebox, and they storm to the front at the 16th pole, but Pleasant Prince comes back on the inside, and the two of them hit the wire together in the Florida Derby.
Yeah, Larry Colmus with the call that year. Icebox didn't win another race in his final 9 starts, but he did finish second in the Kentucky Derby to Super Saver for Nick Zito. It was the first of 2 consecutive Derby victories, Florida Derby victories for Nick, who won the race again the following year with Dialed In. Zito also won the Derby in 2005 with High Fly. So he's had a lot of success in the Florida Derby, but Icebox coming from out of the clouds, not even in camera range when they turn for home, comes flying to get up and win at odds of 20-1. One more for you. How about 2016? 2016 was fun because you had both of the 2015, you had champion Juvenile Nyquist, who was the champion Juvenile in 2015. And then you had the Fountain of Youth and Holy Bull winner, Mo Heyman. Remember him? They both came into the 2016 Florida Derby undefeated. They had 10 wins between them. Mo Heyman was stabled in Florida, Nyquist in California. But there was a lot more on the line for the connections of Nyquist. Paul Redham, who had won the 2012 Kentucky Derby with I'll Have Another, was not looking at the $600,000 first place winner's share of the Florida Derby, but also had a $1 million bonus put up by Fasig-Tipton, because he was a Fasig-Tipton grad, for the colt having been sold at their sale, the Gulfstream sale, the previous year. And trainer Doug O'Neill admitted having reservations about shipping east. I remember talking to Doug that year. He had some reservations about coming all the way from the West Coast and into Mo Heyman's backyard. But it did turn out in the very end that there was no need for worry on the part of Doug O'Neill.
Three quarters in 1, 11-1, and they're into the stretch, and it's Nyquist and Mo Heyman in their bi-coastal battle at the top of the stretch. On the inside is Mahesto in third. Nyquist has moved away. Mo Heyman has no answer today. On the inside is Mahesto, and then comes Fellowship. Nyquist drifting out to the center of the track, but he's far in front, and Nyquist is still unbeaten. He has won the Florida Derby. Mahesto was second, Fellowship was third, Mo Heyman settles for fourth, and Sawyer's Mickey was fifth, and a final time of 1 minute, 49.11 seconds.
And once again, Larry Colmus with the call. Nyquist handily defeated Mo Heyman, took care of business that day, and would go on to give Redham his second Kentucky Derby victory. So, some memorable moments in Florida Derby history. And again, my thanks to Dave Joseph at Gulfstream Park for putting all of those together. There were many others in that story, if you can go back and find it. I'm sure it's out there on the Gulfstream Park website. There were some other great stories surrounding some of the top horses to win, or at least the storylines surrounding some of the horses that have won the Florida Derby over the years. All right, coming up next, I will continue to talk about the Florida Derby and all of the stakes races on that program later today with Ron Nicoletti, who is the longtime handicapper in South Florida. He'll be with me right after your Legends of the Turf and a short commercial break.
He was the son of Forley out of Lady Golconda by Hasty Road and was foaled in 1970, the same year as Secretariat. But while Secretariat began showing championship mettle as soon as he began to train, this horse was very rapidly acquiring a marked reputation as an unmanageable rogue. He was a huge colt who very early on displayed an ungentlemanly interest in fillies. Further, he had the dangerous and painful habit of savaging any individual who dared come close enough to him. His owners, the Lazy F. Wrench, had him gelded to try to correct the problem, and though that surgical process made him at least trainable, he never got to the racetrack till he was 3. He broke his maiden in his second start and had second-place finishes in the Hutchinson Stakes and the Florida Derby. But he ran a distant 4th while priced at 28-1 to Secretariat, and that colt's record-smashing win in the Kentucky Derby. This horse came into his own in his sophomore season on the track in the fall, with convincing scores in the Romer and the Discovery handicaps at Aqueduct, and that, as the saying goes, was the start of something big indeed. At 4, his star shone brightly in the heavens of thoroughbred racing. He began that campaign with 4 straight wins. He was a strikingly handsome, huge bay, standing 17-plus hands, and one could easily pick him out of a crowd of horses at any distance. He did have a gift for the crowd-pleasing late charge that made him very popular with the public, and horsemen were awed by his incredible versatility. At the conclusion of his 4-year-old campaign, he won the 12-furlong Woodward by a neck, and 3 weeks later came back to soundly whip the nation's premier sprinters and the 7-furlong Vosburg handicap, winning it by 3. And just 3 weeks after that, he rolled to a devastating win over a solid field of 9 distance horses in the grueling 2-mile Jockey Club Gold Cup. In that year of 1974, he won 3 Eclipse Awards: Best Older Horse or Gelding, Best Sprinter, and Horse of the Year. He followed that year with 2 other scores as Horse of the Year, both in 1975 and 1976. In both those years, he won 2 legs of the handicap Triple Crown. The second year, just missing the triple and losing by a heartbreaking nose to Foolish Pleasure in the Suburban. His 1976 campaign, his final on the racetrack, found him chalking up one of the most remarkable victories in the chronicled annals of racing in the Marlboro Cup. Honest Pleasure was in receipt of 18 pounds from this horse, who was burdened with a weighty impost of 137 pounds. Honest Pleasure moved out to what appeared to be an insurmountable lead in that 10-furlong test. At the top of the stretch, you couldn't find our horse of the day with a proverbial searchlight, but on a sloppy track, Bill Shoemaker turned him loose and he gobbled up huge chunks of real estate in an absolutely breathtaking run that made him appear as though literally shot from a cannon. He got up to win it in the very last stride by a head in a heart-stopping charge to the wire. He was finally forced into retirement by a bad ankle, but not before he had answered the call to post 57 times and winning 34 of those and being in the money on 50 of those occasions. 50 for 57 in the money. Remarkable. That great thoroughbred who turned from rogue to champion and was, in every sense of the word, a people's horse, was Forgo.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Racing fans, all sights are now set on the Grade 1 $750,000 Run Happy Santa Anita Derby next Saturday, April 8th. Don't miss out on the race that has produced 20 winners of the Run for the Roses. Make your dining and seating reservations now at santaanita.com or by phone at 626-574-RACE. Special early first post time for Santa Anita Derby Day is at 12 noon, and there will be a mandatory payout in the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 jackpot with an expected total pool of more than $3 million. Bring the family this weekend, April 1st and 2nd, and next weekend for Santa Anita's annual Infield Spring Carnival featuring pony rides, inflatable jumpers, and much more. Also this weekend, join us in the infield for our Winner's Circle Barbecue Championships. Online packages are available at santaanita.com/events. First post time this weekend is at 1 o'clock. Santa Anita. It's the great race place.
Perennial leading consigner Eddie Woods is off to another fast start in 2023.
New Grange takes the San Pasqual, but Hopkins is too strong, finishing up powerfully to win the Palos Verdes, and it's Newgate to score by about a head. Reincarnate to take the sham. It's Rocket Can to win the Holy Bull.
Additional 2023 stakes winners include Occult, Lane Way, and Sharar, who took the Jumeirah Derby in Dubai. Find your next winner at the Eddie Woods consignment at OBS March. Visit eddywoods.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Stormello around the far turn, 3/4 of a length over Adore the Golden Scat Daddy. Chaloki's hanging in there on the inside. Notional's being put to the whip. He's on the far outside, and they're coming to the top of the stretch in the Florida Derby, and Stormello and Scat Daddy are right together. Chaloki's in a tight spot on the rail, and Notional is now coming with his run in the final furlong. It is Scat Daddy in front, Notional to the outside, to the inside. Stormello's given way. Chaloki is closing late in the middle of the racetrack, but Scat Daddy's done it again. He's won the Florida Derby.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Larry Colmus with the call of the 2007 running of the Florida Derby. Scat Daddy getting the victory that day for Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher. The first of 6 wins in the race for Todd. He can add to that legacy today with Forte, the 4-5 favorite. He is expected to add to that legacy in today's Florida Derby. Nobody has been better in the history of this race than Todd Pletcher. We'll see if that continues later today, but Forte certainly looks like a handful for the contenders in today's Florida Derby, the race that has produced more Kentucky Derby winners than any prep race in history. Going to get to Ron Nicoletti momentarily from South Florida, get a chance to talk to him and get his thoughts on all 10 stakes races slated for that program later today. What a card at Gulfstream Park. Big day in Arkansas, too. Asked you the poll question, who is your pick to win the Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn? Reincarnate, Rocket Can, Angel of Empire, or other. And if you do choose other, you have to let me know who you think is going to upset the big 3. And so far, 36% of you saying it's Angel of Empire over Rocket Can. 32% of the vote coming in for Rocket Can. So a tight battle there. Keep those votes coming at HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. And if you don't do social media, you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. That's what Larry in Louisville did this morning. He sent in sharing his thoughts on Unbridled, a horse he loved. He said he bet him in the Florida Derby and then bet him in the Kentucky Derby and had the exacta with Summer Squall that year. He also sent a note in reference to the sports betting, which has been approved now by the legislature in Kentucky, and said that he can finally sit on his couch and bet against the Steelers and not drive to Indiana. Larry, I used to like you. You can stop listening now. It's all good, brother. I hope that was an April Fool's email that you sent to me. Who would bet against the Steelers? I know Ron Nicoletti wouldn't. Ron, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Mike? No, I'd never bet against the Steelers. I know how much you love them. Yeah.
Hey, well, listen, buddy, I'm fired up for this program today. Let me ask you this. Well, no, we'll get to that. Let's get to the Florida Derby last. We're going to take these stakes races in order because there's a lot to get to here. 10 stakes, 5 graded. You have the Keeneland Florida Derby, which is the 14th and final race, right around 6:40 Eastern, and you have a $1 million guarantee in the 20-cent Rainbow Six pool. So lots of things for bettors to digest on this Florida Derby Day card, my friend.
Yeah, lots of action. It starts early in the day in 10 stakes, as you said, and the weather is absolutely spectacular. We're going to have a fast main track, a firm turf course. It should be a beautiful day throughout, and it's going to be like in the mid-80s. So it's just one of those perfect Florida Derby days.
Okay, let's start by taking a look at the first of those 10 stakes. And again, we're going to walk through all 10 in this segment for you here, and nobody better than Ron Nicoletti to do that. So, Ronnie, the Cutler Bay is race number 3, 7.5 furlongs on the turf. It goes at 12:28 Eastern. It's an early post today. How'd you see the Cutler Bay?
I went with Harry Time, the Irish bred, is turning back to the 7.5 furlongs again. He closed stoutly last time out. He finished third underneath the Farm Bridge, and Farm Bridge looks like he's going to be a special horse. That was going a mile in the 16th. It's Sappy Joseph Jr., Lionel Reyes atop the sophomore. People say Lionel Reyes. He's been riding so many long shots at the meet. So I got him on top with Dundee and King's Fortune, but I like Harry Time in that spot.
Yeah, 3-1. If you get 3-1, that looks like it could be a solid price on Harry Time in the Cutler Bay, which, again, is race number 3. The next stakes is race number 5. You've got the Grade 2 Pan American. This one, 1.5 miles on the turf, completely different from what we're going to see in the Cutler Bay. 1.5 mile marathon. Who wins this one?
Well, I'm a forgiving sort. I'm going to give Aban another shot. He really trained forwardly in preparation for that first day. He came up empty in the Grade 3 McKnight. But the fact that he trained by Todd Pletcher, number 1, he's working well. And this is the absolute lone speed in the race. So I'm going to give him another chance. I just think if he gets out there and they let this horse lope along, he's going to win it, and I've got faith in Todd, as I said. So I'm going with him. We'll get a little bit of a price. Masterpiece in second, the Chilean bred, and then Wicked Fast. But I think Aban is going to bounce back today.
Ronnie, he gets a new rider from Luis Saez to Joel Rosario. And I have said, I don't know if you agree with this or not. I'll be curious to get your thoughts. I've said for a long time that if there's a better front-end rider in the game than Joel Rosario, I don't know who it is. I think he's incredible when he gets loose on the lead.
No, I agree with you 100% with that. And he's just a pace master. One of the secrets here, Julian Leparoux, as everybody knows, from Kentucky, he can lope him along on the lead. But Joel has been my favorite rider for years and years, not only on the front end, he's having a little bit of a tough meet, but I think he's the man. I wouldn't mind having him on any horse. And I think Aban is going to bounce back today.
Lone speed is always dangerous in any race, and certainly at 1.5 miles. If Aban and Joel can get out there and control the fractions and just kind of lope along, they could be really dangerous, as you point out. In general, how has speed played on that Gulfstream turf this meet?
It's been very good on the meet, depending, of course, sometimes where the rail settings are, but it's just been one that we have to, certain days, certain jockeys just make it, easier to bet speed. But bottom line, speed has been good.
Okay. Let's move on to the third of the 10 stakes races, the Grade 3 Ghost Sapper, which is race number 7. This one is 1.16 miles on the main track. How'd you see this one, my friend?
I went with First Captain, has really been training sharply and looking fantastic schooling in preparation for the first start. He finished 5th as the favorite in the Grade 2 Fayette. So my job this week was interviewing Shug McGay, and he said he had sore muscles and bones in that Fayette, and he thinks he's come back great. And I've been watching him school all week, and I just think he's going to run very well in that race. So First Captain, simplification, boy, stretching out. He rebounded. He had that poor showing in the Pegasus World Cup. Nobody was expecting that. Close, finished third in the Gulfstream Mile. Antonio Sano, Joel Rosario there. Maybe, the talk of the town was the Chilean bred O'Connor came in. Everybody thought this horse was going to be something else, and he threw out a couple of clunkers, so we'll see if he bounced back. I think it's First Captain's race to lose.
And First Captain 9-5 on the morning line for Shug McGahee, the Hall of Famer, number 5 in that Ghost Sapper. All right, the next race, race 8, is the Grade 3 Orchid for the ladies, and this is the marathon event for them on that Gulfstream Park turf course. Any lone speed in here, or is it more contentious on the front end?
It's more contentious on the front end, man. When I say, with a bond, not to go back again, it's just there's no other speed in the race. But this is a little different. I like Amazing Grace in here, the German bred, who won a Group 2 going a mile and a half in Germany. She makes a North American debut for Christoph Clement. First start. Who she finished third to? The Breeders' Cup Turf winner, Rebels Romance, in the Group 1 Prix de Von Europa at Cologne. So I just think, here we go again. Joel Rosario better have a good day. I don't even realize it until I start looking at my stuff. So Joel Rosario will be on Amazing Grace. Personal best, talked to Shug, and he said that I got this horse to relax at the mile and a half, and he won last time out. She won last time out, and that was what made it happen. He thought that Arad rode the horse perfectly, so you're expecting that again today. That was the win in the Grade 3 La Proviante. And then a Transient comes out of a race, beaten the neck by Personal Bet, but there was just a ton of trouble in that race. This horse was going into the first turn, had to pull up, got checked at the 3:16 pole. So Transient is a horse I think you got to use on the trying stuff, but I'm going to go with Amazing Grace, Personal Best, and take a second look at Transient.
Ronnie, I got to tell you, an Italian pronouncing German race names and French race names, you nailed it, man. That was brilliant.
From Corona, Queens, too, which that makes it even harder, you know what I mean? So,
Ron Nicoletti with me, live from South Florida, walking through the 10 stakes races on the program at Gulfstream today. All right, we move on from that Grade 3 Orchid. We move to the 9th race, which is the 7-furlong Sir Shackleton. This race, to me, is always one of the really fun races on the Florida Derby undercard. So tell me about this one. We see some horses that were prominent in the 3-year-old division last year. They come back in here. How'd you see this one?
Well, the number 2, My Prankster, was a perfect 2 for 2 here last year, including that victory in 7-furlong Grade 3 Swale Stakes. Returns to Todd after a somewhat productive, stakes campaign during the spring and summer. I'm one of these guys. I'm a horse for course guy, and I love horses that win at 7 furlongs. I don't know what this horse is. I don't have the line in front of me, but I would think my Prankster is the one to beat in there. Wyburn, is the defending champ in the race, so we'll see how he runs. And then you got Collaborate, but I think my Prankster for Todd is the one to beat in there with Louis Size trying to rekindle that horse for course status.
Yeah, he's 5-2, and he kicks off, or that race kicks off, the $1 million guarantee in that 20-cent Rainbow Six pool. So that starts with race number 9, and my Prankster looking to get bettors off on the right foot. Race number 10 is the Sand Springs, $150,000, mile and a 16th on the turf. Who's your pick here?
I went with the sick market segmentation is back locally after following a turf scorer here at the distance. He went up and he ran 3rd in the Grade 3 Endeavor on the Tampa turf. It's Chad Brown, reunites this daughter of American Pharaoh with, Irad Ortiz Jr. Princess Theorem is a little interesting, and then Preservacencia might run well in there. But I think market segmentation is one there. And, people might be looking at this part of the Rainbow Six or even the late pick 5 that has the $1 million guarantee. Well, you might start thinking maybe you single a couple of horses like this. I personally wouldn't single this horse, but I think it's the one to beat.
I have a feeling a lot of people are going to have a horse named Forte singled in the final leg of that Rainbow Six today. We'll see if Ron Nicoletti.
I'm sorry. It's going to be pick 4s and pick 5s. And
you're right. It is. Yes, 100% right. It is going to be a shorter sequence. If people decide to single Forte, maybe they try to take a shot against them and walk away with the whole pool. Who knows? But that's the 10th race, the Sand Springs. How about the 11th race, which is the Sanibel Island, 7.5 furlongs on the grass? Are we chalky in here, or can we beat the chalks?
I went with Breath Away in here, the British bred who broke her maiden at first asking on the turf at this distance. She goes back to the grass. She highlighted her versatility when finishing second. She was beating the nose in that race that was moved from the turf to the Tapeta. We've been dealing with that all year now for when it rains. I mean, that's the way this track is now. Christophe Clement is one of the best at doing that. So I put Breath Away over Metaphysical and Riding Pretty in there. But Breath Away for me, the British bred.
All right, 7-2 on Breathaway there. We move to race number 12. That is 3 more races. We've looked at 7 stakes already. 3 more to go. The Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Oaks, mile and a 16th on the main. This is the 3-year-old girls, a prep for the Kentucky Oaks. What do you think? Who moves on to Louisville from here?
I think it's the 5 Miracle making a local debut for Todd Pletcher. She dueled for lead throughout. She finished second. Grade 2 Rachel Alexander going that mile in the 16th at the fairgrounds. Her speed will be key. As said, we use the first finish line with the mile in the 16th. I think you got to have that speed and get positioning. So I think not only that this is a good horse and the one to beat, looks like the race is going to play to its running style. So Miracle for me, atomically, was impressive winning the My Girl, Dear Girl, Florida breds, but that's a win at this distance with the first finish line. So you got to always look at that this is a whole different kind of race for the people out there that don't bet Gulfstream all the time. Those mile in the 16th, boy, that finish line comes up fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we say the same thing about Keeneland with that first finish line. Yeah. If you're not in contention turning for home, you have a lot of work to do, and it makes it very difficult to try to get to the wire first.
Yeah, so I just think that horse is the one to beat. Then I threw underneath for the third. If you're looking for a tri-affirmative lady who was second in the Grade 2 Demoiselle, well, still a maiden, so Grand Motion. This horse, I bet him, he just seems, I thought he was going to be better than he was, but I got to put it on the ticket.
Okay, so race 13 now is the race preceding the Florida Derby. It is the $150,000 Appleton, really contentious race, mile on the turf. You can go a lot of different directions here. Ronnie Nicoletti, how did you decide to go in the Appleton?
I went with Steady on the 6s, turned it back to the mile after getting caught late when finishing second, was beaten at half length, and that was the mile in the 16th Grade 3 Canadian turf. It's Todd, it's IRAD. As I always say, what are you going to get hit in the head with a board when these guys hook up? Churchtown and Grace Fable underneath for me. So I just think Steady On's a good one there. Were they single? No.
Yeah, Steady On, 3-1 on the morning line. Okay, the Florida Derby. Everybody's going to be all over Forte here. Can you beat Forte, Ronnie, or is he just that good?
He's that good. And, of course, the big thing is the post. We've only had a horse, a horse win once from out there, with Barbaro or whatever it was. So he's just that much better. And, Irad's got 120 victories in the shortened championship meet that started in December 26th instead of December 1st. He would be breaking the record with that. So, and I've talked to him numerous times, and he just has so much confidence. Yeah, to answer your question, we went a long way. Yeah, if he breaks bad, it's just like you're saying, you've got to get positioning somewhere. I don't see this horse breaking bad. I don't see any bad habits out of him, so he looks like the one to beat for me. And you know what? I'm probably going to single him too.
So, okay, let me throw it to you this way. If Forte, for whatever reason, doesn't run his race today, these horses are not machines, which horse would you look at as being the likely winner if Forte doesn't bring his A game?
Yeah, I like Cyclone Mischief. This one renews the this one took it to him early last time at Forte. He set the pace prior to the weekend. He finished third. He's got to move forward off that performance. He has speed needed to overcome. He's also got a little bit of a tough post, not as much as him. So I thought maybe that horse could run well. And then, of course, the sneaky is the wise guy horses, Maze, who's had, just a couple of starts, and everybody's sort of, maybe this is going to be the one. I don't see that happening. So if I had to pick someone else, it would be Cyclone Mischief.
All right, well, there you have it. Ron Nicoletti live from Gulfstream Park. Very busy morning for him. Ronnie, always appreciate the time, and all the best at the windows later today. And hopefully I get a chance to see you soon, my friend. But enjoy Florida Derby Day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day yourself.
All right, there it is, Ron Nicoletti. What do you got to get hit in the head with a board to figure it out? Come on. Todd Pletcher, Erod Ortiz Jr., when they team up, really dangerous. And Todd Pletcher, always dangerous in every one of these big races. When I come back, it is time for this week's edition of Calling All 3-Year-Olds with Bobby Neuman, presented by Spendthrift, and time for me to get you ready for hour number 2. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
In honor of all those we've lost to cancer and those still fighting and thriving, like basketball analyst and cancer champion Dick Vitale.
I want to beat cancer. I'm going to beat it. That's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to win this battle.
Defeating cancer will take all of us. Join our team to help fund game-changing research that saves lives. At the V Foundation, V is for victory over cancer. V is for victory over the odds. V is for victory over health disparities, victory over setbacks, victory over the unknown. V is for victory over giving up.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Donate to the V Foundation to join our team and help save lives.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul.
100% of donations fund game-changing cancer research. Donate now to the V Foundation at v.org.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle, none are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge and rekindle bonds similar to those formed in the military. Wounded Warrior Project supports these injured veterans through their recoveries by connecting them with fellow warriors and their communities. No one should fight this battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Hi, this is jockey Brian Hernandez. For me, there's no bigger thrill than crossing the finish line in front, and nobody captures the excitement of our sport like Horse Racing Radio Network. Each week, HRRN brings you exclusive talk shows, podcasts, and in-depth conversations with the biggest names in racing, jockeys, trainers, owners, and more. Plus, HRRN is committed to helping disabled riders through their support of the PDJF. So climb aboard a winner today by visiting horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They're all in line. And they're off.
Spendthrift Farm presents Calling All 3-Year-Olds with Bobby Neuman.
There were 5 Kentucky Derby points qualifiers round the globe last weekend, including 3 that offered 200 total points each. We started Fairgrounds with the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby. King's Barnes made the lead, setting slow early fractions that had plenty left to power home late and win by 3.5 over the lightly raced Disarm. They earned 140 points respectively and are likely to meet again on the first Saturday in May. Brad Cox's Instant Coffee was the solid favorite off back-to-back wins, but he never fired and wasn't a factor. At Turfway Park, the Grade 3 Jeff Ruby featured 2 favorites in Major Dude and 2 fills who were trying the synthetic surface for the first time. 2 fills sat mid-pack early while in the clear before moving strongly around the far turn and ultimately drawing away to win by 5. Major Dude was easily second best, well clear of the others. In the UAE Derby, all eyes were on the favorite Cairo, but he wasn't a factor in the race that saw Japan-based runners finish 1, 2, 3, 4. Derma Sotogake won the race, with Dura Arede finishing second. Both horses are being pointed to the Kentucky Derby. Sunday, the Grade 3 Sunland Derby offered 50 points to the eligible winner. Longshot Wild on Ice tracked the favorites who dueled each other into submission, then went by in the stretch to score the biggest win in the careers of trainer Joel Marr and jockey Ken Tohill. And in Japan, Matono O won the Fukuru Stakes. 2 biggies today, the Grade 1 Florida and Grade 1 Arkansas Derbies. At Gulfstream, all eyes are on 2-year-old champ Forte, who didn't get the best of the post draws. At Oaklawn, a big field includes graded stakes winners Reincarnate, Rocket Can, and Angel of Empire. Next week, we'll preview the Bluegrass, Santa Anita Derby, and Wood Memorial. I'll be back with this week's top 5 list right after this word from Spendthrift.
Spendthrift Farm introduces new for 2023 Classic winner Mo Donegal. A leading 2-year-old of his class, Mo Donegal won the Grade 2 Remsen Stakes to close out his juvenile campaign before going on to win the Grade 2 Wood Memorial and Grade 1 Belmont Stakes as a 3-year-old, joining Nyquist as Classic winners by Uncle Mo.
And it will be Mo Donegal to win the Test of the Champion, the Belmont Stakes.
Mo Donegal became the first horse this century to capture New York's prestigious Remsen at 2 and Wood Memorial at 3. Mo Donegal, the newest Classic winner, standing at Spendthrift.
This week's top 5 list of Derby contenders looks like this. Number 5, Kings Barnes hasn't done anything wrong yet and showed his versatility in the Louisiana Derby. Number 4, Go Rocket Ride. He ran well in the San Felipe despite his lack of experience. Look for further improvement in the Santa Anita Derby on April 8th. Number 3, Tappet Trice overcame a tough trip to win the Tampa Bay Derby. He's pointing for the Bluegrass at Keeneland on April 8th. Number 2, Practical Move. San Felipe winner continues to improve. He should be favored in the Santa Anita Derby. And number 1 is Forte. The 2-year-old champ looked great in the Fountain of Youth, and he runs today in the Florida Derby. That's your Calling All 3-Year-Old segment presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.
35 days, 9 hours, 44 minutes, and now just 51 seconds away from the Run for the Roses Saturday, May 6th at Churchill Downs. It'll be here before we know it. Real quick, before I get you ready for hour number 2, I want to make mention of a new restaurant that I was introduced to this past week, and I really enjoyed my visit with owner Marty Mullins. It's the Homestretch Karaoke Bar and Grill. It's on Chico Drive in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. It's just off Route 27. And the reason I bring this up, because many of you are going to be making the trip to Keeneland from Louisville, or you're going to be driving from Lexington and this area over to Louisville for the Kentucky Derby and for the Churchill Meet. You can get off 127 in Lawrenceburg, and you can swing right down to the Homestretch Karaoke Bar and Grill. It's got an old roadhouse feel to it. I had a hamburger that was really, really good. So I said, hey, Marty, if you don't mind, I'm going to give you a little shout out on the show because this was really good stuff. So if you're looking for something really casual, chill, great place to hang out with really good food, the Homestretch Karaoke Bar and Grill on Chico Drive in Lawrenceburg, just off 127. You can find them on Facebook. And just remember, everyone is a winner at Homestretch Karaoke Bar and Grill. All right, coming up now, hour number 2, it's going to begin with Shannon Arvin, who is the president of Keeneland. She's going to look ahead to the meet, which begins next weekend. Unsung Heroes, presented by Woodbine Entertainment at 9:20, and at 9:40, Hall of Fame jockey Eddie Delahoussaye. I'll tell you more about hour 3 right after I step away for a quick 10-second pause for station identification and your Visit Barbados racing update. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
With just 5 weeks remaining until the Run for the Roses, an unlikely prospect sits atop the leaderboard. 2 Phils cruised to a 5 1/4 length win in last Saturday's Jeff Ruby Stakes and now looks to join Lil E.T., Animal Kingdom, and Rich Strike as Derby winners to prep in northern Kentucky. Today, the road to Louisville stops in Florida and Arkansas. Champion Forte returns as the heavy favorite in the Grade 1 Curlin Florida Derby. A win today can cement his case as the horse to beat on the first Saturday in May. A well-balanced field of 11 will meet the starter in Oaklawn's Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, with Risen Star winner Angel of Empire squaring off against Holy Bull hero Rocket Can, and Reincarnate, winner of the Sham Stakes, in early January. In total, horse players will have nearly 20 stakes races across the country to decipher later today. And that's your Visit Barbados Racing Update, brought to you by Barbados Tourism. Learn more at visitbarbados.org.
If you've been waiting to discover that sweet spot where peace of mind meets the time of your life, then it sounds like you've been waiting on Barbados. You've been waiting to experience a meal that makes you book a flight to have it again. You've been waiting for adventure in the sun, from the majesty of horse racing and polo to the thrill of surfing our playful waves. From the moment you set foot on the island, you'll realize Barbados is exactly what you've been waiting for. Visit jetblue.com/Barbados for special vacation packages.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Equine Forum rolling on. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you here on this Saturday morning. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, a look back at some of the memorable moments in Florida Derby history and a look at all 10 stakes races on today's Gulfstream card with Ron Nicoletti. If you missed any of that in hour 1, all you have to do is head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. After we finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern, you can check out the podcast anytime that suits you. Whenever you have a minute, go back and listen to the podcast at your leisure. You can do it on our website, horseracingradio.net, and Horse Racing Radio Network on every major podcast platform. Threw out the poll question for you this morning, and the results have been flip-flopping back and forth all morning long, and you can keep those votes coming at HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or email the show, Mike at horseracingradio.net. The poll question is, who is your pick to win the Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn today? Reincarnate, Rocket Can, Angel of Empire, or other? If you choose other, let me know which horse you feel is going to pull off the upset over the big three. Bourbon Bash getting a vote in that other category, but right now, 30% of the vote coming in for Reincarnate. Earlier, it was Angel of Empire who was getting the majority of the vote, but now it's Reincarnate over Rocket Can and Angel of Empire back in third. So, again, continue to keep those votes coming on our social media pages or email the show, Mike at horseracingradio.net. Next weekend, I'll probably have a poll question pertaining to one of the big races at Keeneland because it is opening weekend of their 15-day meet, which is going to run through April 28th. 19 stakes. 5 of those are grade 1s throughout the entire meet. And listen, one of the great things about Keeneland is that you get a chance to sit there and look out at the beautiful setting, the dogwoods in full bloom, which add to that pristine backdrop for the Sport of Kings. And it all happens right here in the horse capital of the world. And nobody knows that better than Shannon Arvin, who is the president of Keeneland. And she joins me now here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Shannon, good morning.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
Doing really well. And I got to tell you, as excited as I am for today's racing, great day, Florida Derby, Arkansas Derby, there's something special. There's something different about opening weekend of the Keeneland Spring Meet, isn't there?
Well, we would definitely agree with you. We are really excited. We can't wait for the meet to get going. We've, the fall was so frenetically hectic with the sale and the race meet and Breeders' Cup and another sale. So as we've been getting ready for this meet, it's just all fun. Everybody's in good spirits and we're ready to welcome everybody out here.
It's interesting you bring that up about the fall meet because typically the fall meet is a bit more relaxed, if you will, right, than the spring meet. The spring meet, everybody's so excited and on edge for the top 3-year-olds, whether it's the fillies or the boys. It can have a different feel to it, whereas the fall's usually a lot more relaxed, unless you have a Breeders' Cup taking place at Keeneland. Then all bets are off. But there's just something different about the spring meet and that road to the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks.
I definitely agree, and we can't wait to get started.
What was the very first Keeneland meet that you remember attending, Shannon?
Gosh, that's a good question. I used to work them as a kid, and I was probably 12 when I started coming. That's when my parents felt like I was old enough to behave myself, I guess. And it's just the feeling that you get when you walk in here, and it's one of the great things about Keeneland. I think it felt in many ways a lot the same when I was 12 as people feel when they walk in here. You know, anytime we try to go make a change or update facilities, which we're in the process of working through, kind of the guiding light is make it feel like it's always been here, because that's what you want from Keeneland. You want that tradition and that good feeling when you walk in.
How cool is it to be able to say, I used to work at Keeneland as a kid, and now I'm the one calling all the shots. I'm the president of Keeneland Association.
I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about that, but it is funny. I think what it does is it helps me understand kind of where Keeneland has been, where we are now, and where we want to go. But it is fun to have worked here growing up and know kind of a lot of the legends who grew up here and were around here for a long time, some of whom still are, Jeffrey Russell and Rogers Beasley and Mr. Bassett and Mr. Greeley, all these great people who were awesome stewards of this place, and it's fun to have known them well.
You mentioned the future of Keeneland, and that's one cool thing about Keeneland. As much as they hold on to the traditions and to the past, there's always more in the hopper, if you will. There's always something else on the horizon. So let's start with what we're going to see from the spring meet. What are some of the highlights of the spring meet? Some of the things that if folks are going to be coming out to Keeneland, they can look forward to, or if they're not able to make it and they're going to watch it anywhere around the world. What are some of the things that people can look forward to this meet?
Yeah, like you say, we're always looking to make the experience here better. That's what we want. We want fans and owners and trainers and participants, horsemen and horse players to come and say, golly, that was the best track I've ever been to. We loved being at Keeneland. So, of course, we've got our amazing stakes schedule lined up, 19 stakes over our 15 days of racing, worth a record $8.05 million. We always work in the KTDF money these days, and that's a really healthy thing for Kentucky racing, although we're a little bit careful about how we apply it and make sure that what we're trying to do is attract the best horses internationally. Of course, we love Kentucky breds, but we want a healthy ecosystem, and we want people from all over the world to bring their horses wherever they were bred to Keeneland and be able to win a whole lot of prize money here. So we're looking forward to the racing like we always are. We have College Scholarship Day, which is one of my favorite days, and then that's on the 15th. And then really one of my favorite days is Military Day. That's Sunday the 16th. And if people haven't been to that, that's definitely one to see because it just makes you proud. You know, they have the flag unrolled and they have the ROTC here, and everybody's just really proud and happy to be singing our national anthem. We've got Keeneland Kids Club Day, which is presented by Kentucky Children's Hospital on the 23rd, which is always a big hit. And then Sundays on the Hill we're starting. You know, we've been doing Saturdays on the Hill, but we've added Sundays. The Hill is a spot we kind of resisted tailgating, I feel like, for a while, and then we decided, you know what, tailgating is part of a sporting event, and so we blocked off a large part of our campus so people can really go and have a good time. And we anticipate Sundays will be probably more of a family day, but a great spot to come take your family and enjoy the grounds.
Yeah, visiting with Shannon Arvin, president of Keeneland Association, looking ahead to the meet next weekend. Shannon, I've often drawn the parallel between Keeneland and the Masters as being two of the really iconic sporting events in their respective sports. The Masters is always trying to hold on to the traditions which make the Masters so special, but at the same time, like you're doing at Keeneland, trying to make the fan experience special and add a few new wrinkles here and there. So how important is it when you start making these different changes and adding new things that how cognizant are you of holding on to the history and the tradition that's come before you?
You know, it's huge, and I think people that know me would say that I am a pretty traditional person, and that would be true. And since I've come to Keeneland, we talk a lot about how important our traditions are, but we also know not all of our traditions need to be kept in perpetuity. So we talk a lot about taking the best of our traditions and moving forward and being innovative and working on ways to highlight and showcase the horse and how great this sport is. We just want everybody to see how amazing the sport is, how amazing the community around the sport is, and want to be part of it. So we do a lot of things that we talk about the little Hal Price Headley on our shoulder sometimes. What would Hal Price Headley say if we were getting ready to do something? And we definitely do a gut check, but we're also not afraid to try new things because I think we have to be. I think we have to be trying new things in order to be good stewards of this place.
What's been the most rewarding part for you now in your, I guess it'd be your third full year of president of Keeneland? I guess it was 2021 when you took over the reins.
Exactly.
So
yeah, it was January.
What's been the most rewarding part for you, Shannon? Yeah.
You know, it's such every day you go into work and you come through these gates and you kind of have to pinch yourself because it really is such a beautiful place to be. But I think it's got to be the team that we've built. You know, a lot of us are have come within the last 3 years. A lot of the people in leadership, Gatewood Bell, head of racing, Tony Lacey, head of sales, Cormac Brannick, director of sales operations. We've got Buff Bradley on our sales team. Just that excitement and thrill, and really everybody on the team, we're just rolling the same direction, and having that team environment and that encouragement, that's the most gratifying part for sure, because I think it's the right thing for Keeneland. At this time, I think that the people we've got here are without a doubt the right people to be here.
You know, the other thing I've always admired about you, Shannon, and this goes back well before you were named president of Keeneland, when you and I first met and we were on some of the owner view panels together. And, you know, you're very approachable. You're somebody who's very outgoing. You're always, you know, willing to spend time talking with everybody that would come up and say hello to you. And I noticed that same thing as you walk around during the race meet. And there might be, you know, 20,000 fans in attendance, but you're always available. You're always milling about the crowd somewhere at Keeneland, and you're always so approachable. And I assume that also, not just your personality, but that's by design too. You want to be out there talking to the fans and talking to the horsemen.
Absolutely. I think that's a critical part of my job, and a critical part of all of our jobs here. You know, I mean, we are, some people say open door policy. We really are open door policy. If something's not working, we want to know that it's not working. So I think it's critical. That's one of the most fun parts of my jobs, in addition to it being one that I think is really important for all of us to do. And it extends to certainly our horsemen and backside too. You know, I mean, we're always walking around. We're trying to understand what's going on with them, what policies we have that are working, what ones are frustrating them. Dr. Stuart Brown is out there every morning trackside and open and wanting to talk to horsemen about what's going on with their individual horses, but also just in general, what's going on well and what's not. You know, HISA has been and is going to be a huge shift for all of us. I honestly feel like we had already started implementing a lot of the safety procedures of HISA. And so now, you probably saw last night, it's another 30 days, so we've got to talk to Lisa Lazarus and see what her plan is for the spring meet. But changes like that are difficult, but it's a lot easier if we're all talking and we've got open lines of communication.
HISA is such a divisive topic in our sport. There are people who are adamant that it's going to be great for the sport. There are other people saying, you know what, this is not good for the sport. We don't need this, and they're fighting HISA every step of the way. And that's not uncommon in any industry, but certainly here in racing, we see a lot of divisive issues. How does Keeneland, as the, I'll use an old quote, the industry leader, how does Keeneland view their role in the HISA implementations?
Well, we actually, before I came to Keeneland as a lawyer, I was pretty involved with the folks that were putting it together and trying to make it work. And I'll start by saying I'm the last person that would say we need the federal government to intervene in anything, because that is not an ideal solution to me. But over 20 years of legal practice, we saw this patchwork of rules that did not work together. It's confusing for the participants. You'd use the same medication for a horse in New York, a different one in Kentucky, or the same medication in Kentucky, and come out with different results. And it's confusing. It doesn't work. It's not the way a major national sport conducts itself. So I think the folks that are saying they weren't consulted, it's a little bit disingenuous, because we've been talking about this for 20 years. There was no other solution. And I don't think HISA is going to be perfect by any stretch. I mean, nothing is. And I think they recognize, too, that they have a learning curve on some things. But I can't imagine a better person to lead those efforts than Lisa Lazarus. She's willing to talk to any trainer, any owner, any concerned party, anytime. And she's the first one to say, you know what, I'm so glad you told me that. I didn't realize that was an issue. We need to work on that. And she'll go work on it. I don't think we move to the next level, and I wouldn't feel very optimistic about the future of our sport absent HISA.
Yeah. Yeah, Shannon Arvin with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. And Shannon, I'll echo your sentiments. I've said that many times, that our sport has had decades, forget about 20 years. I mean, this has been ongoing for a long time, has had decades to right the ship and do it internally and take care of our own house. And it hasn't been done. And as much as I hate the idea of federal intervention, something has to be done to get everybody on the same page and get the rules implemented across the board. So whether it's HISA or, as folks that oppose HISA have different ideas, whether it's something there or a hybrid maybe that we come to, but there has to be some solution somewhere in this. That it just has to happen. And I appreciate all your comments there. Shannon, listen, enjoy every moment next weekend and enjoy the entire meet. And it's always a lot of fun to catch up. Really do appreciate the visit here this morning.
Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks for having me.
All right, keep up the wonderful work. That's Shannon Arvin, president of Keeneland. Again, the meet opening next Friday, runs through April 28th. 19 stakes, 5 Grade 1s, with the signature events being the Grade 1 Bluegrass, the 99th running, and the 86th running of the Grade 1 Ashland taking place next weekend as well. When I come back, it is time for this week's Unsung Heroes. It is one you will not want to miss. Sonny Taylor set to join me from NYRA. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Perennial leading consigner Eddie Woods is off to another fast start in 2023.
New Grange takes the San Pasqual, but Hopkins is too strong, finishing up powerfully to win the Palos Verdes, and it's Newgate to score by about a head. Reincarnate to take the sham. It's Rocket Can to win the Holy Bull.
Additional 2023 stakes winners include Occult, Lane Way, and Sharar, who took the Jumeirah Derby in Dubai. Find your next winner at the Eddie Woods consignment at OBS March. Visit eddywoods.com.
This Healthy Horse Tip is brought to you by Kessmark. Spring in Kentucky is beautiful, but allergies can prove to be a real challenge for horses. Pollens and air pathogens can irritate a horse's airway, especially those coming from climates where spring begins much earlier, such as Florida, Louisiana, and Arkansas. Horses coming from the high desert of the West Coast can also have difficulty handling Kentucky's prime allergy season. Mucus, while considered normal by some, is not normal and serves as an incubator for fungus, bacteria, and other pathogens that will make a home in the airway if given the opportunity. Keeping the immune system in order and providing your horse with a clean airway through preventive measures such as feeding on the ground, wetting hay, clean shavings, and nebulizing products can all aid in reducing allergies and keep the immune system healthier to address the important things the body needs, such as athletic recovery. For more healthy horse tips, visit Kessmark.com or follow them on Twitter at Kessmark_equine. That's KESMARC_equine.
Sam Houston Race Park's live thoroughbred meet runs through April 8th and features a new afternoon racing schedule for 2023 with racing Friday through Sunday and a first post at 1 p.m. Central. We're looking forward to March 25th, Texas Champions Day. Make it to Sam Houston Race Park as the best in Texas compete in 7 exciting stakes races. The 9 race card starts at 1 p.m. at Houston's Best Bet. Canadian racing fans are invited to play Sam Houston at simulcast outlets throughout Canada and on HPI Bet. For more information, visit shrp.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Scholarships are available. Visit rtip.arizona.edu.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Heroes in the world of sports are not uncommon, oftentimes thrusting themselves into the limelight through unimaginable feats.
Back behind the ball, Woods puts it.
And in! He has done it! Tiger is back! Tiger is back on top! 2019 Masters champion.
And breathtaking performances.
Here's how you count to 8. 3, 2, 1. And for the 8th time, college basketball's national championship trophy is coming home to Kentucky.
But behind every great hero, there are others. Individuals who play a crucial role in the achievements of those we read about in the headlines. The ultimate team players. Content to stand behind the curtain, embracing their place as a vital part of a sport's success. In horse racing, these are the unsung heroes.
Yeah, a sport filled with unsung heroes, and today is certainly no exception. I love this segment. I love getting a chance to visit with people in our sport that don't often find themselves in the headlines, and I love shining the spotlight on them. Today, I welcome Sonny Taylor, who grew up in Chicago. He attended Southern University in Baton Rouge, where he played collegiate basketball, and then he worked for the U.S. Postal Service before joining the Army. He served in Germany before a visit to New York after he discharged really did change his life. He accompanied his great uncle and NYRA clocker Earl Williams to the track, and he loved what he saw. And with Williams' recommendation, Taylor became an assistant clocker at NYRA, working under the tutelage of Jack Kennedy, who was a fixture in the racing office at that time. He became an official timer in 1971 and a patrol judge in 1972. And on Sunday, tomorrow, he will wrap up 58 years of working at NYRA, and it has been a storied career for Sonny Taylor, who joins me now as this week's Unsung Hero. Sonny, good morning. I really appreciate a few minutes here.
No problem. I'm glad to be on. It's a pleasure.
Sonny, 58 years is a long time to do anything. What do you think you're going to miss most after you retire tomorrow?
I'm probably going to miss most the people that I work with and the people that I met through my career in racing, because I met a lot of famous people, but I met a lot of ordinary people that I really love too. And it was just an enlightening experience for me to be able to go through my career with such wonderful people to be around.
Sonny, I know you're getting ready to make the way to work now on your final day, or at least after tomorrow will be your final day, but I won't keep you very long because I know you've got things to get to. But I do want to ask you just to share a few of your memories, the favorite stories you like to tell when you think back on everything you've been associated with in racing.
Well, I was lucky enough to be able to be the official timer for the Belmont Stakes when Secretariat broke the track record, which still stands today, of a mile and a half in 2 minutes and 24 seconds. And my wife was right next to me, Claire Taylor, and I just kept telling her during the running of the race, I said, this horse has got to slow down. I said, he's going too fast. And every eighth of a mile, he seemed to pick it up and go a little faster. And Ron Turcotte, the rider on him, never even reached for his whip. And he did it all on his own, and it was amazing. And I guess I had the pleasure also of being involved in 5 different Triple Crown winners, from Secretariat all the way up to Justify. So that's a lot of excitement in my life.
Yeah, and you mentioned all the people that you've met and that you're going to miss, and you've befriended so many people in the sport, and the press release about your retirement told the story of you sitting at Saratoga, and you would typically grab a bench across from the jockey room for a cigar and some horse talk with everyone when you were at Saratoga. Tell me about some of those people that you had the chance to sit with and smoke a cigar with and visit with.
Well, it was a lot of newspaper writers from the Times Union in Albany, and it was one particular guy, Alex. He used to come around. He wrote a story about me, and sometimes I would see in the morning Bill Parcells from the Giants football team, and the coach, and he had horses, and every morning he would walk by and say hello, and also when he was in the area, Camp Calloway used to come by quite a bit, and we'd sit down and talk, and it was just so many numerous people around in racing that befriended me, and it was a great experience just to be around and be able to converse with these different people and have a good time. It's fun.
Sonny, I remember coming to Belmont Park for the first time, our first broadcast anyway, back in 2007. And then over the years, we returned as we started doing more broadcasts of the Belmont Stakes and all the Triple Crown races. And I remember every time I would meet you, you always had a smile on your face. You were always so excited to see not just me, but everybody that made the trip to New York. And I know that one of the things you loved was having visitors up to the booth, the judging booth. Tell me more about welcoming people there and some of the pictures that you had up there in the booth.
Well, being up in the placing judges stand is an experience in itself, in its own self. And a lot of people never get to see that. And a lot of people don't know what to go into the different aspects of judging a race. And when it's a real tight race, you go around the back and it's projected onto a screen from the photo finish cameras, and it's just something special. And the people that you bring up to the stand, and they get to watch the race and see how it unfolds, and everything that happens is something special. And they never forget it. And every time you see somebody that you took up to the stand, they always say, "Oh, we never forget the time you took us up the stand and that little bitty elevator in Saratoga. It's something special." I says, "Oh, well, I was lucky to have up in the stand Mrs. Robinson, Jackie Robinson's wife. She was up in the stand to watch the races with a guy by the name of Leonard Coleman, who was the president of National League Baseball. And they also loved it, too. And I think it's just something that people don't realize, what all the aspects that go into putting the race together.
Visiting with Sonny Taylor, who will wrap up a 58-year career working at NYRA tomorrow. It has been a memorable run, as you've heard him talk about here. 15 minutes here this morning doesn't do it justice. Sonny, I know you have to get going. Just a couple more minutes, and I'll let you go. You've got to see legendary names, not just Secretariat, but Dr. Fager and Forgo and Gunbo and Kelso and Cigar. All these names come to mind. Talk about just a couple of those horses that just you're never going to forget.
Well, now, I was very friendly with the owner of Gunbo, and he used to be, it was pretty much like a match race when he and Kelso hooked up all the time. And the races were so close, a lot of times it would take a limited amount of time before we could get the picture developed and the photo finish decided upon who won. That was great racing. And then also, Dr. Fager was John Nehru, who was a great friend of mine, and he ran that. He was the best miler that we ever saw around, and the only reason that the horse Damascus ever beat him was because they had a horse called Hedivar that they used to put in as a rabbit to soften Dr. Fager up and make him run real fast early, and that's how they wound up beating him. But Dr. Fager was a really special horse. Now, they had some other horses that I saw. One horse that got hurt and got retired early was a horse by the name of Hoist the Flag. And this was really a nice horse. Sid Waters trained him, and he might have been as good or better than Secretariat. I don't know for sure. We never really got a chance to find out. And that was one of the great horses that I thought in my lifetime. I loved him, of Hoist the Flag. And I'll tell
Sonny,
you the funny story. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to tell you that the exercise rider that used to get on Hoist the Flag in the morning, the day that he ran in his maiden race, the guy, Cullum O'Brien, who was working for Sid Waters at the time, sold his car to bet on the horse. And if he got beat, he wouldn't have a car. So that's a funny story for me. I thought it was great.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a great story. One last question, Sonny, before I let you go. One of the things that makes you a true unsung hero in my book is all of the work you've done with aftercare and getting some of the horses that we've fallen in love with new homes. So tell me just a little bit about that and your work with aftercare.
Yeah, say that again. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So your work with aftercare with old friends honored you not long ago. And you've done a lot for retired racehorses.
Yeah. The owner of the farm, we just happened to meet up by me going to the hotel on Broadway where he usually stayed, and that's how I wound up him feeding me. We used to sit down and talk about the different horses that he had there, O'Geigen, and he had numerous great horses that he takes care of, and I just happened to tell him stories about the horses that I knew about them when they were racing, and how they made an impression on the public, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, well, Sonny, let me tell you, 58 years. Congratulations on your retirement. I hope you enjoy every minute of it, and thank you for everything you've done for the sport of thoroughbred racing. In my opinion, you are a true unsung hero, and you're exactly what an unsung hero is supposed to be in racing.
Well, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure talking to you. You have a good day.
Enjoy your time this weekend, my friend. Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Sonny Taylor, this week's Unsung Hero, presented by Woodbine Entertainment. What a story. What a man. We could spend 2 hours looking back on his stories, and maybe we'll do that at some point here up the road. I'm back with more right after this word from Woodbine.
Attention horsemen, make plans now to race at Woodbine in 2023. The thoroughbred meet begins in April, and Woodbine will distribute more than $64 million in purses. Plus, you'll enjoy world-class racing and training facilities with top turf racing in North America over the prestigious E.P. Taylor Turf Course. Woodbine's convenient proximity to Kentucky and New York, along with a 9-month racing season, make it the perfect place to compete this year. Shipping incentives may be available, so don't delay. Contact Director of Racing Tim Lawson today and visit woodbine.com for more information.
And for fans of standardbred racing, Woodbine Mohawk Park is offering 15 races tonight with a post time of 6 p.m. Eastern. When I come back, you'll hear from the Hall of Famer Eddie Delahoussaye looking back on Sonny's Halo's victory in the Arkansas Derby and Kentucky Derby 40 years ago. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's that time of year again. The Keeneland Spring Meet is back. We hope to see you on opening day, Friday, April 7th. Make sure to pre-purchase tickets to join your friends and family for world-class racing at Keeneland. Gates open at 11. First post at 1 o'clock. Visit Keeneland.com for a full schedule of races and events. And be sure to download the Keeneland Race Day app before you go. See you there.
There's plenty of thrills at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet with live racing Wednesday through Sunday. Don't miss the Triple Crown prep races, including the Fountain of Youth Stakes on March 4th and the Florida Derby Saturday, April 1st. Enjoy the races outdoors from the Carousel Club, our Feast in 10 Palms, offering a premium view of the races. For stake schedules, reservations, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
Botanical with the lead, and Botanical in full bloom to the wire. Botanical was best in the Bourbonnais Oaks. She's a perfect 4 for 4 here at Turfway, and she goes all the way 144 and 2. Botanical, an impressive performance to take the Bourbonnais Oaks.
Botanical, the daughter of Darley stallion Medaglia d'Oro, was she good, remained perfect in 2023, and tallied her 4th consecutive win with that authoritative performance in the Bourbonnais Oaks at Turfway last weekend. Botanical now has the top 2 buyers for 3-year-old fillies at a mile or over this year, and stamps her ticket to the Kentucky Oaks while earning the title of your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Learn more about Medaglia d'Oro and all the Darley stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They're moving for the stretch. Sonny's Halo on the inside has his head in front. Desert Wine is second. Highland Park still right there. Now coming up on the outside and gaining ground. Slew of Gold. Marfa on the extreme outside. Down the stretch, it's Sonny's Halo on the inside. Desert Wine is second. On the outside, Marfa. Up between horses, Slew of Gold and Sway Solo. They're nearing the finish. It's Sonny's Halo. He's going to win it. Sonny's Halo wins it a length and a half.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna rolling along on this Saturday morning. That was Mike Battaglia with the call of the 1983 Kentucky Derby. 40 years ago, Sonny's Halo under jockey Eddie Delahoussaye getting the victory after winning the Arkansas Derby leading into the Kentucky Derby. And Eddie is with me now here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Eddie, good morning. Eddie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Listen, Sonny's Halo, 40 years ago. When I say the name Sonny's Halo, what comes to mind for Eddie Delahoussaye?
Well, it was a great achievement in my career winning the Kentucky Derby, and prior to that, riding him in the Arkansas Derby, which it was a horse that I didn't think I was going to get back on because Larry Snyder rode him in the Rebel. And somehow the owners wind up picking us for the Arkansas Derby, and then we went on. After we won the Arkansas Derby, we went on to win the Kentucky Derby. And it was a nice surprise to get back on the horse.
Yeah, he was obviously a very special horse for you and for your career. What to win the Kentucky Derby, obviously that's huge for any rider, Eddie, but put into words what that meant for you at that time in your career and what it meant going forward.
Well, as you know, I won with Gato del Sol the year before the Kentucky Derby. And just put the icing on the cake, which, you know, any rider that wins one Derby, you never assume you're going to win 2 in a row or 3 in a row or whatever. You always assume, man, if I can just ride in the Derby, much less win it, it'll be exciting. And but to win 2 in a row was a great achievement and a spectacular achievement for my career.
Was he an easy horse to ride?
Yes, he was. He had tactical speed, and you could put him anywhere. He was that kind of horse. He just, when you called on him, he gave it to you. He was really good in the Arkansas Derby and the Kentucky Derby.
Well, 8 years later, you get another win in the Arkansas Derby with Olympio for trainer Ron McAnally. That was 1991. What do you remember about that day?
Oh, he was a good horse too. I won besides winning the Arkansas Derby. After that, we won, some minor derbies around the country, and I think he won 3 or 4 derbies in all. And he was a classy horse, and he was a horse. He was another one that had tactical speed. That day in the Arkansas Derby, he broke sharp, and I was on the lead for a ways, and I let him drop back to about 6th or 7th, and I just sat on him and waited till about the 3.5. And when I called on him, he just excelled, and he had dropped back about 10 lengths. And like I said, when I called on him, he excelled, and he won by 4 or 5 lengths going away. He was a good horse. Unfortunately, he couldn't go to the Kentucky Derby. He had little issues. I don't know what they were back in those days. I didn't really, most riders didn't, find out what was the problem, if they had any problem. And Ron didn't talk about it. All he said, he was not going into the Kentucky Derby. And it was kind of disappointing because he was that kind of horse.
Now, talking with the Hall of Famer Eddie Delahoussaye here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Eddie, a winner of 6,384 races. Let me get that number correct for you, Eddie. More than $195 million in purse earnings. Do you ever still get the itch to want to ride races again? I know you've been retired a while, but does it ever hit you where you're thinking, man, I missed that game?
No, Mike. It's been 20 years, and I'm still involved. I'm breeding horses with a partner, and got a couple of mares, giving me something to do, and I'm on the racing commission with Louisiana State Racing Commission, trying to help racing and trying to change things and change some laws to get better racing here. And we got a good group of commissioners. But to answer your point, no, I'm too old. I can't go back. Never got the itch last 20 years.
Yeah, I know. I don't blame you, Eddie. Let's talk about the Arkansas Derby this year. Yeah, we'll let the Ortiz brothers. I don't know. Mike Smith might beg to differ with you on that one.
Yeah, you got to give it to Mike. He's a hell of a man, and him and even John Court still ride. That's what's amazing.
Yeah, John Court, Johnny V. I mean, all of these veterans that are just so good. Still they can still get it done.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about this year's Arkansas Derby. Eddie, I told you we'd have a little fun, and I told our listeners that they'd get to hear it from a Hall of Fame rider. So there are 11 horses in this race later today. And if Eddie Delahoussaye was going to choose one of these horses to ride, which one would you choose, and why would that be?
Well, I choose one of two. Angel Empire. He's won going 1 mile and 8. He won at the fairgrounds. He won the Risen Star, and I happened to watch that race that day, and he was pretty impressive. And I think there's only 2 horses in the race that have run 1 mile and an 8. The other one's the 3 horse, and he ran against Angel of Empire, and he ran 6th. Him, but Angel of Empire would be one, and I'd have to pick Timmy Ateem's horse, the 8 horse. He's got great speed ratings, and I think he's a horse that was coming on, got a lot of trouble at Oaklawn when he ran in his last race, the Rebel, and he only got beat 2.5 lengths, so he should improve that horse. So it'd be one of those horses. The 6 at 8.
Yeah, well, if Eddie D likes him, you should too. Eddie, you were always such a patient rider. Did you prefer the horses that you could get to relax and then finish, or did you maybe once in a while want to be on those horses that had some early gas?
Well, a lot of people that knew me and that watched me and knew I could ride a speed horse just as good as I could ride a horse that could come from behind. And I won a lot of races on the lead or right off the lead. And but for me, it was enjoyment. It was really, I enjoyed seeing horses that could come from off of it and get horses right on the wire. I mean, it was exciting. I think it was, as exciting as a horse going wire to wire, but the challenges are more when you come from way off the pace, as you know, because you got traffic and pace. And so, Mike, I could ride him either way, so it didn't make no difference.
We always hear that term that the good jockeys have that clock in their head, and they, you talk about making that late run and timing the move and all those types of things. What exactly does that mean, Eddie, that a jockey has a clock in his head?
Well, you have tools. You riding with the same. Say if I go to Hot Springs, I know most of those riders, even though I'm sitting in California, and I watch those riders every day. We watch races, so it's not so much a clock in your head. It's knowing your riders, knowing the horses. Knowing what kind of capabilities they have, if they have speed, if they're going to back up, and knowing your horse to place them in the right spot to make the right move. So there's a lot involved. A lot of people think, they just get on a horse and ride, but your top riders study everything, and it plays out. In the races, you see the cream come to the top.
Did you spend a lot of time in the racing form handicapping the race before you rode them?
Yeah, I did. I studied the racing form. And like I said, I studied the riders and knew who I was riding against and knew what kind of horses I was running against.
Well, 6,384 times Eddie Delahoussaye got it right with that clock in his head, and nobody better. He is with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, looking back on Sonny's Halo and Olympio, those great Arkansas Derby winners, and the run to the Kentucky Derby. And Eddie, listen, I really enjoyed the visit here. It was fun to go down memory lane, and we'll see if you're right on those 2 horses in the Arkansas Derby later today, my friend.
All right, Mike. Thanks for having me, and I enjoy your show, and good luck.
Thanks, buddy. Eddie Delahoussaye here on HRRN, one of the greatest to ever do it. By far. I mean, obviously, Hall of Famer, those 6,000-plus wins, multiple Kentucky Derbies and the Breeders' Cups and all those types of things that Eddie had success with. But he chooses either Angel of Empire or Reincarnate as the two horses that he would pick to ride in that Arkansas Derby if he were riding it later today. I find that interesting. Of course, those are two horses that are going to end up taking a lot of money. Surprised he didn't go with Rocket Can. I kind of like Rocket Can in that spot today. It's going to be one heck of a race, and my thanks to Eddie for being with me here this morning. When I come back, I'll take a look at a couple of historical dates in racing history and get you ready for hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Racing fans, all sights are now set on the Grade 1 $750,000 Run Happy Santa Anita Derby next Saturday, April 8th. Don't miss out on the race that has produced 20 winners of the Run for the Roses. Make your dining and seating reservations now at santaanita.com or by phone at 626-574-RACE. Special early first post time for Santa Anita Derby Day is at 12 noon, and there will be a mandatory payout in the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 jackpot with an expected total pool of more than $3 million. Bring the family this weekend, April 1st and 2nd, and next weekend for Santa Anita's annual Infield Spring Carnival featuring pony rides, inflatable jumpers, and much more. Also this weekend, join us in the infield for our Winner's Circle Barbecue Championships. Online packages are available at santaanita.com/events. First post time this weekend is at 1 o'clock. Santa Anita. It's the great race place.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment. Email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Well, Eddie Delahoussaye says that if he was riding in the Arkansas Derby, he would pick to ride Angel of Empire or Reincarnate. And so far, in the poll question today, when I asked you your pick to win the Arkansas Derby, 33% of you are going with Reincarnate. So you agree with Eddie D that he is a major player in there. Certainly he is. He's 5-2 on the morning line. Rocket Can, 30% of the vote. Angel of Empire is back to third after having an early lead in the voting. 23% of you saying you think it's Angel of Empire, but Reincarnate the one getting most of the play. You can continue to vote at HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or if you prefer, you can email me, mike@horseracingradio.net, with your thoughts on today's Arkansas Derby and which horse you feel is going to be standing in the winner's circle and punch their ticket to the Kentucky Derby. Time now to take a look at a few dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend in thoroughbred racing. And we begin with March 30th. That's the day, 1970, that Secretariat was foaled at the Meadow in Doswell, Virginia. March 30th, 1970. March 30th, 1985 is when Lafitte Pincay Jr. became the second jockey in history to surpass John Longden's record of 6,032 victories. He rode Sovereignty to victory in the 6th race at Santa Anita Park that day. Today, April 1st, April Fool's Day, April 1st, 1940, is when New York legalized parimutuel wagering and outlawed bookmakers at the state's racetracks. Big day in racing there. April 1st, 1998, the National Thoroughbred Racing Association was officially formed and launched operations with the opening of its offices in Lexington, Kentucky. And tomorrow, April 2nd, 1938, is the date, the anniversary of future Triple Crown winner Whirlaway being foaled at Calumet Farm in Lexington. So happy birthday tomorrow to Whirlaway. And on April 3rd, Monday, the anniversary of 46-year-old Eddie Arcaro, who announced his retirement that day, April 3rd, 1962. He retired with 4,779 victories, including 2 Triple Crowns, which he won with Whirlaway and Citation. And those are historical dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend and the days surrounding it. Want to thank all my guests for being with me here this morning. Of course, one more hour still to come for you here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, but it has been very, very busy. You can check out the podcast at horseracingradio.net after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. Hour 3 kicks off with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Vance Hanson will join me momentarily to share his thoughts on a few races you'll want to keep an eye on later today. 10:20, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly stroll through racing history. And at 10:30, I once again welcome trainer Dale Romans, turf writer Tim Wilkin for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. Continue listening to this third hour of the show on Sirius 216, XM 204, in the Louisville, Kentucky market on ESPN 680, or on your computer, phone, or tablet with live streaming at horseracingradio.net. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum is up next, right after I pause 10 seconds for station ID. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
From the rail to your radio, this is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Nyquist has moved away. Mohayman has no answer today. On the inside is Mahesto, and then comes Fellowship. Nyquist drifting out to the center of the track, but he's far in front. And Nyquist is still unbeaten. He has won the Florida Derby.
Always Dreaming, set down for the drive by John Velasquez, and he's moving away. State of Honor is up into second, an impressive edge. Calavera too little, too late, but inside the 16th pole, the 2017 Florida Derby to Todd Pletcher, and Always Dreaming. They won it by 4 in the end.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
There's an eighth of a mile to go, and American Pharaoh is putting on a show. He has not been asked the question, but everyone knows the answer. He is indeed the ruler. American Pharaoh, breathtaking in a mesmerizing performance as he dominates the Arkansas Derby.
Smarty Jones leads it by 3.5 and is pulling away. They're driving toward the wire. It is Smarty Jones by 3. Borrego trying to make one-lane move. Pro Prado at the rail. Smarty Jones leading by 2. It is Smarty Jones. One step more to Kentucky and one giant step to $5 million.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Well, if those calls don't get you pumped up on a Saturday morning, there isn't much that's going to. Welcome back to hour number 3. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on Florida Derby Day and Arkansas Derby Day as we continue to edge closer to the Run for the Roses. And if you've been listening to the first 2 hours of the program, and I hope that you have heard a lot of conversation about the Florida Derby, a lot of conversation about the Arkansas Derby, and yes, you've even heard some conversation about next weekend's opening weekend of the Keeneland Spring Meet, which is going to be absolutely sensational. But plenty of good races coming up this weekend, and that is a huge understatement because both cards at Gulfstream and Arkansas are loaded with quality and loaded with great betting opportunities, and nobody knows that better than Vance Hanson from TwinSpires, who is going to join me here in just a moment for the TwinSpires Triple Play to begin hour number 3. But I want to remind you that if you are just joining us, and if you did miss any portion of the first 2 hours, you missed a lot. Go back and check out the podcast coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern after we finish up the show. You can listen to the podcast every single week of this show and all of our shows at horseracingradio.net and Horse Racing Radio Network on Apple Podcasts and Google and Podbean and Spotify. However you get your podcasts, listen to us there as well, and we are happy to have you along for the ride each and every time that you tune in. All right, so coming up, Vance Hanson will kick things off momentarily. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History coming up at 10:20. And at 10:30, I ask, they answer with trainer Dale Romans, turf writer Tim Wilkin, as they debate some of the hottest topics in the sport going on this week and this weekend. But it is time for this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. And Vance Hanson is indeed with me now. Vance, you have selected 3 races our listeners can bet. They can bet them any way that they would like based on your analysis, and they can do it at TwinSpires.com later today. And really looking forward to talking about these 3 races again this week, my friend.
Hey, Mike, good to be back with you, and it should be a terrific day of racing at Gulfstream in Oaklawn and elsewhere.
The thing I liked is that you chose 3 races that are somewhat different, somewhat off the radar, if you will. And the reason I say that is because the attention is going to be on the Florida Derby and on the Arkansas Derby, and many people will be, of course, playing those. But the 3 races you chose are the 8th at Gulfstream, which is the Grade 3 Orchid, really competitive race. The 11th at Gulfstream, the Sanibel Island, which is probably even more competitive, if you will, at least based on the morning lines. And then the 13th at Oaklawn, an allowance race. And these are 3 races you feel have very good value for players later today.
Yeah, and I think as far as I'm concerned, and maybe other players too, you kind of gravitate toward races where you think you have an edge or have some strengths. And I believe over the years my strength has tended to lie in turf races, and so I gravitated toward those stakes at Gulfstream for sure, and then kind of taken a flyer in the last at Oaklawn, which we'll talk about in a couple moments.
All right, well, let's begin with that 8th race at Gulfstream. It is the Grade 3 Orchid, 1.5 miles on the turf. A field of 8 is signed on. The favorite is number 5, Amazing Grace, 5-2 on the morning line for Christophe Clement. How'd you see it?
Well, I really do like that favorite, Amazing Grace, number 5. I also like number 6, Personal Best, and I was very impressed with her come-from-behind victory in the La Provayante in late January for Shug McGahee. I think she's going to be an excellent long-distance filly on the turf later this year, but the form lines on number 5, Amazing Grace, I think are too hard to ignore. She comes in from Germany in her first start for Christophe Clement, won a Group 2 at Baden-Baden last September, and that performance was bookended by 2 very good performances against males. In a Group 1 at Munich, she finished only 3/4 of a length behind Samarco, who won the German Derby last year. And then in her most recent start, she was only beaten 3 lengths by Samarco, who ran second. And then the runaway winner was Rebels Romance, who we all remember came over and won the Breeders' Cup Turf so impressively at Keeneland. So Amazing Grace has been facing a lot better horses than what she'll face in the Orchid here. Probably not going to get 5-2 here, but I think she's pretty solid. I guess the one caveat I have for her is that she's going to be running over very quick ground at Gulfstream. It's been very dry down there this summer. It's ground she's not been used to running over in Germany and France. But if she handles it, and she's had quite a time to adapt to, at least in training, to the firmer turf course conditions, I think she's got too much class to against the fillies that she's facing here.
I'm so glad that you brought up that point about the turf condition, Vance, because that was going to be one of the questions I was going to ask you. When you do look at her past performances, you see that Amazing Grace in Europe has been racing on soft, good, and that's it, soft and good ground, at least from the races that are showing in her past performances. But you bring up the fact that she's been here for a while, so that acclimation process has already taken place, and if that helps her get used to it, then and she does handle the ground today, you're thinking she's the one to beat.
I do, and one thing I would mention about courses listed as good overseas, of course, good would be a step below firm in our past performances, but when you think about good ground in Europe, that's typically probably closer to firm than soft. They really don't have a designation for firm in a lot of places. So good ground is still relatively dry compared to what a lot of U.S. handicappers might think.
Okay, so if she doesn't handle the ground, let's say she doesn't like the firm going, doesn't run her race, you think the horse to beat then would be number 6, Personal Best?
Yes, I think that was a very measured neck victory in the La Proveyante. She looked to me like a winner half mile out. I think this is a really promising filly. She's proven to be a great stayer for Shug, and she looks the best of the rest, I think.
Okay, number 5, Amazing Grace, the top pick for Vance Hanson in the 8th at Gulfstream, the first leg of this week's TwinSpires triple play. That's the Grade 3 Orchid. Let's move on to the second leg, the 11th, which is the Sanibel Island. $100,000 is the purse. It is 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. Field of 10, a lukewarm 3-1 morning line favorite in number 2, Love Appeals. Do you like her, or do we play against her?
I'm going to play against her, but I'm still going to go to the Christophe Clement well because he has another fill in here, number 5, Breathaway, who is 7-2 in the morning line. Breathaway just has a slightly bit more experience than Love Appeals. She's had 2 starts already. I thought her maiden win on the turf at Gulfstream in early January was solid. And then last time she tried the Tapeta in an allowance and just got nipped by a filly that was eventually stakes placed at Turfway, I believe, last time out. Breathaway, I think, has shown a lot of professionalism so far. She's out of the Group 3 turf-winning mare, and I like her more than Love Appeals in this spot at a slightly better price.
Yeah, and she ran huge first time out at this very same distance on the Gulfstream turf to break her maiden. So she cuts back to that and goes back to the turf again. You have to think there's a lot of things to like about Breathaway. If indeed Breathaway, for whatever reason, Vance, I mean, you picked her, she has to win, right? But let's say she doesn't. Would it be Love Appeals, the horse to beat in there, or is there somebody else you would have your eye on?
Another one I have my eye on is number 1, Mrs. Astor. Jonathan Thomas trains for George Strawbridge on the homebred. Took her 3 starts to break her maiden, but she did so very impressively in late January. I thought she turned in a nice turn of foot there. Of course, being a Strawbridge homebred, she's regally bred. So Mrs. Astor is another one I'd be taking a look at beyond the Clement, too.
Yeah, there you go. 7-2 on the morning line for Mrs. Astor. But the top pick for Vance in this second leg is number 5, Breathaway, 7-2 on the morning line. All right, Vance, one more. We're going to go to Oaklawn for this last one. And no, it's not one of the stakes races. It is not the Arkansas Derby that you've chosen. You said you're going to take a flyer in the 13th race on the program, which is an allowance race, 1 mile on that main track at Oaklawn. Who do you like?
The flyer is number 7, Costa Terra, for Ron Winchell, Steve Asmussen, 12-1 morning line. This is a horse they've always had very much high hopes for. He was stakes placed as a 2-year-old, ran him in races like the Breeders' Futurity, Southwest, Sunland Derby, didn't pan out really much, and then was sidelined after the Sunland Derby last year, was off nearly a year, came back on March 3rd in an entry-level allowance at Oaklawn, and I thought he ran a pretty good race under the circumstances. I mean, when you think about it, he was off nearly 50 weeks, was wide around both turns, but and there was a runaway loose on the lead winner of that race. He named Don't Forget. He won by 9.5 lengths, but Costa Terra, I thought, ran pretty well for 4th, and he was only beaten a very short margin for 2nd. So, considering this horse has been well-meant throughout his career, he's avoiding stakes company back at a proper allowance level. I think he has an opportunity to move forward a second time out. I might be catching him a race or 2 short, coming off such a long layoff. But Costa Terra, I think, is pretty good value, if anywhere around 12-1 here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will look at Costa Terra and they will say, well, he's raced 3 times at Oaklawn. He's never hit the board, 0 for 3. That doesn't concern you based on everything you just laid out as to why he might be coming up to a big race.
I agree. And, of course, 2 of those races came off very long layoffs, the Southwest and then this allowance race I just alluded to. So I think he had some excuses there. Perhaps not so much one for the last time he tried an allowance. In February 2022, he was a distant fourth there. So I don't know exactly what to make of that race, but just taking a shot here in the nightcap on a terrific day at Oaklawn.
Yeah, well, last week Scott Shapiro joined me on this show, and he went 2 for 3, a couple big price horses in his 3 selections. And Vance, I like the way you've approached it this week, not only giving our listeners a horse to play on top, but look at a couple of horses underneath as well, and take a swing in the last race at 12-1 with Costa Terra. So we'll see if we can get some more winners here. It has been a very productive segment ever since we started the TwinSpires Triple Play, and I'm excited to see how these horses run later today.
Me too, Mike. It's like I said, it's going to be a terrific day. We're going to find out a lot more about the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks tomorrow, and good luck to everyone this weekend.
Yeah, and I encourage you to follow Vance and his selections. You can go to TwinSpires.com. You can check them out on Brisnet as well. Vance, really do appreciate it. Before I let you go, let me walk through and recap very quickly before we wrap up the Triple Play. Race 8 at Gulfstream, he'll go with number 5, Amazing Grace, at 5-2. Race 11 at Gulfstream, the Sanibel Island, he'll take number 5, Breath Away, at 7-2. And in race 13 at Oaklawn, number 7, Costa Terra, at odds of 12-1. That sounds like one heck of a triple play to me, Vance.
Sounds good to me, too. Hope it comes through.
It better. You picked them. It better sound good. Vance, I appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend. Good luck at the windows, and we'll encourage people to head over to TwinSpires.com and bet those races right now. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. Talk to you again.
All right. Vance Hanson with this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Yeah, last week Scott Shapiro was en fuego. Joe Christofek shortly before that was en fuego. And now we're looking at Vance Hanson saying, okay, Vance, time to get to the party here. Let's see if he can make it 3 in a row with big weekends here on the TwinSpires Triple Play. Again, head to TwinSpires.com to bet those races. Coming up next, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly stroll through racing history. And at 10:30, you know what time it is. It's Dale and Tim time. I ask, they answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Scholarships are available. Visit rtip.arizona.edu.
Curling, the classic sire.
They're off in the Derby City Disdain. An obligatory,
and it's got to be Clariere in the fifth stakes. Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths in this coaching club. American Oaks, Cody's Wish, with the upset in the Fargo. And Malathon has won the personal ensign stakes.
Curling, standing at Hillendale.
Here with Joe Brown Nicholson of Nicholson Insurance Agency. Joe, what would be a common misunderstanding between an insured and the insurance company?
Mike, one issue is a policy condition that requires notification when an insured animal becomes sick or injured.
Do you mean in life-threatening situations?
Not just then, but if a veterinarian is called in for treatment other than routine care. Take, for example, if a yearling colt gets his foreleg caught in a fence and tears the skin. The coat is stitched up and everything seems fine, but later the coat develops a systemic infection. Then there's a serious situation that the company knows nothing about.
So the company needs to know, even if it's not a life-threatening situation.
That's right. It's a policy condition. The company has a stake in the health of the animal because of the existing insurance policy. The company might want to have its own vet examine the horse. In most cases, though, just a call or email is all that is needed.
For all your equine and general insurance needs, including farm owners, liability, homeowners, auto, and more, contact Nicholson Insurance Agency at 859-224-7080. You gotta know Joe.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, Presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He was almost an April Fool's baby. He had Fool in his name, but he earned enough respect to be named Horse of the Year some 70 years ago. His name was Tom Fool. Foaled on March 31st, 1949, at Manchester Farm, adjacent to Keeneland Racecourse in Lexington, Kentucky, Tom Fool was a bay colt by Me Now out of Gaga by Bulldog. His breeder was Duval Headley, who owned Manchester Farm and a member of a family which was instrumental in the founding of Keeneland. Headley sold Tom Fool privately in April of 1950 to Green Tree Stables of John Hay Whitney and Mrs. Charles Shipman Payson. The colt had run his right hind leg through a fence and had sustained a flesh wound shortly before he was sold, but the injury was minor and caused no further complications. With future Hall of Famer John Gaver as his trainer and future Hall of Famer Ted Atkinson as his jockey, and carrying Green Tree's pink and black silks, Tom Fool won on debut in August of 1951 at Saratoga Racecourse and quickly added the Sanford Stakes and the Grand Union Hotel Stakes in his next two starts. It gave him 3 wins and 2 stakes victories in the span of 12 days. Described as a big, strapping, good-looking colt, Tom Fool later won the Futurity at Belmont Park in what was seen as the key juvenile race of the season. Despite being the 4th betting choice, he defeated all of the primary contenders within the division, leading both Thoroughbred Racing Association and Daily Racing Form to name him Champion 2-Year-Old Colt of 1951. But things took a complicated turn for Tom Fool as he started his 3-year-old campaign. In March of 1952, he got frightened and jumped a hedge at the training track in Aiken, South Carolina. In April, he was beaten ahead for the win in the Wood Memorial in New York, and a persistent cough kept him out of the Kentucky Derby. Doubts also had arisen about Tom Fool's ability to cover a longer distance of ground. He had been second both times he had run at 1 1/8 miles, and he had been a non-threatening third in the Travers Stakes at 1 1/4 miles. Tom Fool managed to regroup late in his 3-year-old season for a win in the 83rd running of the Jerome Handicap at Belmont Park, and he won the Empire City Handicap at 1 3/16 miles, despite conceding 19 pounds to the runner-up. It all set the stage for what was to come. As a 4-year-old in 1953, Tom Fool won at distances ranging from 5.5 furlongs to 1.25 miles. He showed speed in winning the Carter Handicap in track record time for 7 furlongs under a record 135 pounds. He showed courage and stamina in winning the Suburban Handicap at 1.25 miles. Tom Fool was so good that he became the first horse in 40 years to win the Metropolitan, the Brooklyn, and the Suburban Handicaps in the same season, and he carried top weight in each of those races. The 136 pounds he carried in the Brooklyn equaled the highest weight ever carried by a winner of the race. Breaking the track record at Pimlico for 1 3/16 miles and winning the Pimlico Special in his final career start, Tom Fool finished the year with 10 wins in 10 outings. He so overpowered the competition that his final 4 races were programmed as non-betting exhibition events. Standing just under 16 hands and weighing slightly less than 1,100 pounds, Tom Fool was said by some to be the best-looking horse in training. He was named Champion Older Horse and Champion Sprint Horse, as well as Horse of the Year for 1953. And he was inducted into Racing's Hall of Fame in 1960. Years later, Blood Horse magazine would rank him number 11 on the list of greatest racehorses of the 20th century. The sire of Kentucky Derby winner Tim Tam and former Horse of the Year buck passer and also a leading broodmare sire, Tom Fool died at the age of 27 on August 20th, 1976. When Tom Fool was retired from racing, Green Tree Stables issued the following statement, quote, "We are proud of our horse, and we feel that nothing could be added to his reputation by running him again," end quote. Atkinson said the horse was one of the finest gentlemen he ever knew and spoke of his calm assurance in the paddock. Gaver said the horse had spoiled him. And a veterinarian who worked on the Green Tree horses said, quote, "I never had to do a thing for Tom Fool. No blistering, no firing, no special medicines to keep him on his feet and running. End quote. On April Fool's Day, we remember Tom Fool. Far from being a joke, one of the most respected horses of all time and the horse of the year some 70 years ago. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
And once again, my thanks to Kurt and to Keeneland for making those segments possible each and every week. If you have missed any of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments, all you have to do is head back over to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can check out the special podcast page dedicated to those stories and listen to every single one. There have been some amazing ones. Go back and listen at horseracingradio.net. When I come back, Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin, they will be here. It is this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's that time of year again. The Keeneland Spring Meet is back. We hope to see you on opening day, Friday, April 7th. Make sure to pre-purchase tickets to join your friends and family for world-class racing at Keeneland. Gates open at 11. First post at 1 o'clock. Visit Keeneland.com for a full schedule of races and events. And be sure to download the Keeneland Race Day app before you go. See you there.
Sam Houston Race Park's live thoroughbred meet runs through April 8th and features a new afternoon racing schedule for 2023 with racing Friday through Sunday and a first post at 1 p.m. Central. We're looking forward to March 25th, Texas Champions Day. Make it to Sam Houston Race Park as the best in Texas compete in 7 exciting stakes races. The 9-race card starts at 1 p.m. at Houston's Best Bet. Canadian racing fans are invited to play Sam Houston at simulcast outlets throughout Canada and on HPI Bet. For more information, visit SHRP.com.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think Farm Paint. At Farm Paint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low prices. Farm Paint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a Farm Paint store near you with locations in Heart of Bluegrass Country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
Undefeated Grade 1 winner Mastery was a multiple graded stakes winner at 2, including victory in the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Cash Call Future. On the track, his recent top runners include these star performers.
Surprisingly down the outside, Scottish Star here, surprisingly surging on the outside, surprisingly.
It's Midnight Memories who takes the lead. Midnight Memories, much the best in the Zenyatta.
Mastery, standing at Claiborne Farm.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Looking to gain on the far outside as they straighten away as Instant Coffee has the black cap. In the meantime, it's still Kingsbarns. Kingsbarns 1 furlong to go, and Kingsbarns looking to finish them off in the Louisiana Derby. And Kingsbarns has opened up 5 lengths now on Disarm, who's gained second from Jace's Road. Shopper's Revenge. Instant Coffee is next, but it's Kingsbarns and Flavian Pratt. Kingsbarns undefeated, 3 for 3. Kingsbarns won by 4 from Disarm. Jace's Road was next, then Sun Thunder, Shopper's Revenge, Instant Coffee, and Cabot's Conquest. Kingsbarns goes wire to wire.
John Dooley with the call of the Louisiana Derby. Kingsbarns remaining perfect with that win in last Saturday's race. Should we be buying or selling the latest star from the Todd Pletcher barn? And if Champion Forte wasn't running in today's Florida Derby, would that race or the Arkansas Derby have the stronger group of Derby contenders? Plus, which side is right and which side is wrong when it comes to the back and forth exchanges on HISA? All of that and much, much more is straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, and it's all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business, and it all starts just 30 seconds from right now.
Learn the business of horses in the world's only accredited equine business program, the University of Louisville Equine Business Program. The University of Louisville has a legacy of excellence educating and developing industry leaders for over 35 years. Classes are taught by industry experts in state-of-the-art facilities located in the heartland of America's equine industry. The University of Louisville Equine Business Program. When it comes to horses, we mean business. For more information, visit business.louisville.edu/equine.
All right, guys. Well, before we dive into this week's topics, we need to pass along some news to our listeners and let everybody know that after today's show, I Ask, They Answer is going to be on a bit of a hiatus until Derby Day, May 6th, and it is absolutely not our choice. It is due to a 1-month suspension from the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. So, guys, as hard of a pill as that is to swallow, I guess the silver lining is that we all get a bit of a freshening leading up to our big Derby Day show, and we'll be back better than ever on May 6th.
What would we do?
What did we do wrong?
Apparently, the only verbiage I received was a series of violations. We're in the process of trying to, so everybody knows, file an appeal, but as of now, it looks like Saturday, May 6th will be the date we'll be back.
Boy, that's a shot in the head.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. By the way, it's also April Fool's Day, guys. So, just so you know.
So you're being a funny guy.
I had to come up with something to try to get you guys today. We got to.
You know, you got me. You got me.
You got me too. That was good.
We are definitely going to be back next week and the week after and the week after. We're here all the way through April, right up until the Kentucky Derby and beyond. So, yes, happy April Fool's Day to you guys. April 1st.
Hey, how long have you been working on that bit?
I put it together in about 5 minutes before we opened the show today.
Oh, so you
guys are easy. I didn't have to spend a lot of time on you guys.
No, that was good. You were very convincing.
Yeah.
All right. Topic 1. April Fools. April 1st, we begin with topic 1. If we were to take Forte out of the mix, and no, he is not out of the mix. That is not an April Fool's joke. If we were to take Forte out of the mix in today's Florida Derby, which of today's Derby points races offers the stronger group of Derby contenders? Would it be the Florida Derby or the Arkansas Derby? Timmy, what do you think?
Well, if Forte's out of the mix, not running in the Florida Derby, I'm going Arkansas. And no offense to Dale and Cyclone Mischief, but they're both for. I mean, there's 12. There'd be if Forte didn't run in the Florida Derby, there's 11 horses. If the Arkansas Derby has 11 horses too, and you look at the field in Arkansas, there's 3 horses in the top 20 that in the point standings: Angel of Empire, Rocket Can, and Red Route 1. I think that in itself says there's more depth in the Arkansas Derby. In the Florida Derby, if Forte was out, the horse with the most points is Cyclone Mischief with 15. And after that is W. Nell, the Denny Gargan horse with 10. And as well as Madge, who's getting some interest in that race. But if I'm picking one of the races, I'm going to take the Arkansas Derby because I think that there's more depth in that race, and I think it'll be a better betting race.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that. I mean, it's probably top to bottom. There's a lot more depth in Arkansas. I think there's 4 or 5 good horses over here, but it's probably deeper over there. If you take Forte out, I would have to agree with you. Arkansas's got more depth and probably a little bit better field.
And Reincarnate's also in Arkansas, the former Baffert horse that's now with Yak Team, who was third in the Rebel, got 15 points on the trail. And there's an awful lot of horses in both races that have 0 Derby points. But, if a horse steps up, it's 100 point. These are 100-point races. They get right into the the mix if they're a top 3 finisher. So, I'm not poo-pooing the Florida Derby by any means, but as depth-wise, I'm going Arkansas.
And I would have to agree.
Forte is regarded by almost everyone now as the horse to beat on the first Saturday in May. And if he draws off the screen or wins impressively in the Florida Derby later today, that's only going to cement his case, and he'll be the favorite when they get to Louisville. How deep is this Derby division, this 3-year-old male division, guys? Do you think there's a lot of depth, or is it simply the horses at the top and everybody else? What do you think?
I think that the horse at the top is stands out, of course, but I do think there's a lot of good horses behind them. We have the same argument every year. It seems like every year it's a bad crop until the fall when they're beating older horses. Everybody realizes it wasn't that bad a crop. But I think there's a lot more depth. It seems like the last few years there's been more depth and more parity than there used to be. And you take Forte out of the picture, and you could go 10 deep with horses that you think have a lot of chances of winning Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, and the thing too, when they line up in the starting gate on the first Saturday in May, nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, who predicted the winner from last year? Nobody. There's nobody that I know of that picked Rich Strike to win that Derby, and he didn't get in the race till the day before. So, yes, Forte right now is the horse that everyone's going to have to beat. I mean, even if he doesn't win the Florida Derby, he's going to be a force on Derby Day, unless he really throws in a clunker, which I just don't see, despite the post. I'm not concerned about that as a lot of people might be, because with Irad Ortiz in the saddle, he's going to work out a trip from out there. And Forte is the best horse right now on the trail. And I don't think there's anybody right now that can run with him. No one's proven that they can, even though it's only been the one race this year, but he was so dominant in doing it. And there hasn't been any other horse that's really jumped off the page and to suggest that he will be the one. So right now it's Forte's race to lose.
Dale, you're trying to slay the monster today, if you will. You're trying to take down Forte with Cyclone Mischief, who was third behind him in the Fountain of Youth last time out. That day he had the lead, and Forte blew by him, and he ends up finishing 5 3/4 lengths behind him. You put him back in here, take another shot. What gives you the confidence that Cyclone Mischief can make up that 5 3/4 lengths?
Well, the first thing you do is, in this game, you never duck one horse, is my opinion. If it's one horse you're ducking, you've got problems. But, right now he's the best horse, and all we can hope for is he regresses a little bit, maybe bounces off of that big effort first time out this year, and backs up a little bit for us to beat him. But if there's a lot of ways to win this week, you get some more points and move on to the next level. That's a win in itself.
Yep. Yeah, it certainly is. All right, well, right now it does look like it's Forte and everybody else, but he does have to take that next step. Just like all 3-year-olds, he has to prove that he is the one to beat, and he has to do that in the Florida Derby later today. Dale's hoping Cyclone Mischief will prove that he belongs on the first Saturday in May. And, Dale, good luck to you, my friend. We're going to be cheering for you.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, topic 2. Let's take a look back at last weekend and the 4 Derby points races that were run. Are you buying or selling each of the winners? And we'll take them individually. Let's start with the Jeff Ruby Stakes winner, 2 Fills. Are you guys buying or selling 2 Fills? Dale?
2 Fills has got to go. He's for sale. Yeah, I don't think he can compete with some of these better horses we've been talking about.
Timmy?
That's it?
That's it. It's up to you now.
Damn. Well, I'm going to buy on 2 Fills. He won the Jeff Ruby by daylight. Yeah, it's a synthetic track. But, he was third in the Risen Star behind Angel of Empire, who's also running today. And he was second in the Lecomte behind, at the time, was Instant Coffee was considered to be Brad Cox's best. He has since he didn't run very well in Louisiana Derby, but I think 2 Fills, he's got some upside. Where I think I'm not saying he's going to win the Kentucky Derby, but I think he could be a board player. And remember that the horse that finished third in this race last year won the Kentucky Derby. And so I think Two Phil's has got a chance to be a player in Louisville.
All right, so Timmy's buying. Dale is selling Two Phil's. How about the UAE Derby winner, Derma Sotogake? Are we buying or selling? Timmy, you take it first.
Well, I am selling. I know a lot has been made of the progress and the strides that the Japanese horses have been making worldwide. And this horse, you know, he dominated the UAE Derby, and he was third in the Saudi Derby before that. But I just still can't get around the fact that the UAE Derby has been a landmine for horses that are going to Kentucky. I mean, there's been 18 horses that exited the UAE Derby, 12 of them winners, and none of them ever hit the board. The best finish was a 6th by a horse named China Visit in 2000. I just, you know, eventually I think the Japanese are going to break through and be a player in our major race. But until it happens, I'm going to keep selling them. So, especially the horses that come out of the UAE Derby. So that's a big sell for me.
I'm selling too. I agree with you, Tim. They got to prove it to me once that you can win going through Dubai. It's a tough thing to ask a horse to do, to be back ready to run at its best that quickly. And I'm going to sell.
0 for 2 for Derma Sotogake. How about the Louisiana Derby winner, Kings Barnes? Dale, buy or sell?
Buy. Very impressive winner. Todd Pletcher. I mean, you got to buy him. Top contender, one of the top contenders.
I'm going to also buy, but it's more of a timid buy. I mean, his time in the Louisiana Derby was not fast. I mean, it was, since they've gone a mile and 3/16, it's the slowest. I mean, he was 2 seconds, nearly 3 seconds slower than Epicenter last year. But this was only Kings Barnes' third start, you know, and he went from the maiden, the allowance, right into this graded stake and won convincingly. And it is Todd Pletcher. This horse could improve, and you know, Todd's, you know, he trains Forte, he has Tapit Trice. The rich are getting richer here. He could have 3 very, very live horses going into Kentucky, because Kings Barnes, you know, has done nothing wrong. I mean, yeah, the time was slow, but I just think he's got so much potential. And, you know, he won the Louisiana Derby on the front end, and that's a recipe for success in Louisville. So, I'm going to buy.
All right, so buying Kings Barnes for both Dale and Tim. One more to go. 35-1 Sunland Derby upsetter, Wild on Ice. Dale, would this be a buy or sell for the Romans Empire?
He's a sell, but I will take a second. One of my favorite trips I've taken for a horse was out to the Sunland Derby. We ran second. That's a cool little place to go. If anybody's traveling around the country, likes horse racing, swing by there if you get a chance. But he's a sell for me.
Timmy, buy or sell?
Dale, if this training thing don't work out for you, could go work for the Chamber of Commerce out in New Mexico.
I love New Mexico.
That's it?
Yeah, are you buying or selling?
Well,
that's it. Keep them on task, Dale.
Right.
Yeah, this is an easy sell for me. I mean, it's a good story. Local connections out there. The jockey Ken Tohill and trainer Joe Almar. That's the first graded stake either of them ever had, and they've been out forever. But you know, when he won the Sunland, he was the longest shot on the board in a 6-horse field. His 2 starts before that, he was beat by combined 44 lengths. He's late supplement to the Derby, so he's gonna go. But I just hope who knows? Maybe he becomes the next Rich Strike. I don't think he will, but it'll be a fun story for people that are, that are in Kentucky and covering the Derby. But I see zero chance of him winning.
All right, Wild on Ice, a sell for both Dale and Tim. Neither seeing him as the next Mind That Bird in this year's Kentucky Derby. All right, let's move on and welcome our friend Nick Zito to the program as we do every week and play a couple rounds of right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
All right, Dale, I'm going to come to you first on this one because there was plenty more dissension surrounding HISA this week as the organization announced their anti-doping and medication control regulations that are now into effect. They went into effect immediately this past week. As you can imagine, Dale, there were members of our industry who praised the move and others who came out against it. So, which side is right and which side is wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Well, I hope that the HISA side is right, and if they go out there and they do find there's people who've been really cheating the game, then everybody will be on the HISA bandwagon. So it's time for them to put up or shut up. Let's see what you can get done.
Well, I think that, I'm on the side of HISA because anytime they want to do something that's going to have uniform testing and enforcement standards, it's for the safety of the animals and the integrity of the game. I say that I'm all for that. I don't know why you would. I know that HISA has had their detractors and there's people wanting to play the wait and see attitude, but it's a step in the right direction because you want to have a level, clean playing field, and I think this is the step in the right direction to do that.
All right, so Dale and Tim thinking, okay, let's hope that HISA is the way to go. And Dale, it is just hoping at this point, right?
It is. They've still got to prove that they're going to make a major impact on the game, and they need to get it right. It's going to be around for a long time. Hopefully, they do.
All right. Topic number 2. Last week, I asked you guys for your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. I also posted a poll question on this same show on our social media, and I asked listeners to give me their 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. That poll question received a grand total of 0 responses, not 1. So if I were to say, unless you're somehow involved with one of the Oaks fillies, nobody cares about the Kentucky Oaks. Would I be right or wrong?
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right?
Timmy?
Well, I think you're definitely wrong on that because the Kentucky Oaks is and always will be one of the, if not the premier race in the country for 3-year-old fillies.
Yes.
When you put that poll up, it's maybe people weren't paying attention that day, but I can see why some people might not have voted because you look at the horses that were getting all the buzz in the Oaks division, Wonder Wheel and Hoosier Filly, and they've both stubbed their toes. And the horses that are at the top of the division are named Pretty Mischievous and Southern and South Lawn, Wet Paint. They don't do much for a lot of people, but come the first Friday in May, there's going to be a lot of interest in this race because it is the Kentucky Oaks, and it's steeped in tradition, and there's been an awful lot of great performances by fillies in this race. I just think that you put that poll out again, people will vote for it. People will start voting on it. But I think it's also important that the big names do something leading up to it, even though Hoosier Filly kind of stubbed their toe again.
Yeah, I think Kentucky Oaks is still a big time race, and everybody's really interested in it. I just don't think that people are quite as interested in the prep races for it as they are the Kentucky Derby. And that's the biggest difference. I have to be completely honest. When last week's question was asked, I had to go back and refresh my memory on who was out there running in the preps. I didn't pay that much attention to the Philly preps either. But I think the Oaks is always, in my mind, of course, being from Kentucky, it's the biggest 3-year-old Philly race. I mean, some people may argue the Alabama, But
like me,
yeah, but it's still an important race. I just don't think people pay as close attention to the preps like they do the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I think it's a great race, and the Run for the Lilies coming up on the first Friday in May, always a lot of fun. It's a great day of racing, too, guys. It's a very laid-back day as opposed to Derby Day, right? And you get to kind of walk around. The crowd's not quite as big, and you get to enjoy a wonderful day of racing, and it's a great card all around. And, Timmy, I think you're right. And, Dale, I'll echo your sentiments, too. I think people just don't pay as much attention to the prep races for the 3-year-old fillies like they do the Kentucky Derby horses. The ladies kind of take a back seat, and I don't think that's right.
No, that's what people like or don't like.
Yep. All right, that's right or wrong. We'll bring that topic, that segment back again next week here on I Ask, They Answer, as we do every single week. One more topic before our West Point of the week to wrap up the show. Hall of Fame jockey Pat Day was the guest speaker at the Kentucky Racetrack Chaplaincy Dinner this past Wednesday, and that got me to wondering about some of the greatest speakers in racing history. So I'll ask you guys, which people, be they owners, breeders, trainers, jockeys, industry professionals, have you seen speak that have really captivated you most when you've been sitting in the audience? Timmy, how about for you?
Well, I have a couple. I've always really enjoyed listening to Tom Durkin because he knows how to spin a yarn, and he's funny, humorous, knowledgeable, historical, and he's a great storyteller. I've always enjoyed listening to him, and many times at different back stretches across the country, I've had my own I'm the only person in the audience when I sit in the office of D. Wayne Lucas and listen to the stories he has to tell. And this guy, and I know he also speaks, but when I've been one-on-one with him, I just marvel at the knowledge and the interesting anecdotes that he's had over his career. And one more I'm going to throw out there is the former jockey Richard Migliore, who tells some of the best jokes that I've ever heard.
Yeah, great three.
Good choices. You stole one of mine, and but I didn't think about Tom. But you're right about Tom. Tom was a great storyteller and great to listen to. Wayne Lucas was another one of mine. I think that we spent a lot of time together, and I can sit and listen to him all day long. And he's a great public speaker, of course. He's the only guy in the game I've ever heard of getting paid money to go around the country and talk to companies and motivational speak. He's good. But one of my all-time favorites was Jack Randberg. If you ever got to sit in the audience and listen to him, he captivated an audience. He had great stories and was a great man, and it's just fun to listen to. And Jerry Bailey, I like listening to Jerry on TV. I talked to him this morning. He's, I think he's a very interesting guy to talk to and listen to.
And, I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention Nick Zito, because I get a kick out of anytime I talk to Nick, and when I've heard him talk in front of other people, he is also a guy that's a treasure.
He is, definitely is.
Yep. Definitely a lot of great stories from those gentlemen that you guys just mentioned. And for me, D. Wayne Lucas, there's D. Wayne Lucas and there's everybody else. He's the forte of speakers, if you will, if you want to compare it to this year's Derby field, as we talked about earlier. He just blows them away every time he gets up and talks. And I could listen to him talk all day long. I think he's fantastic. And, I'll take Wayne Lucas over everybody in that particular topic. All right, the Showdown scoring update. Dale currently leads the Showdown 19-10. He padded his lead last week. Timmy, you have Forte going in today's Florida Derby. Dale is going to try and take you down with Cyclone Mischief later today, so that score is likely to change. And Dale, there's a good chance you could still remain at the top of the list. As a matter of fact, you'll be guaranteed to keep your lead if Cyclone Mischief finishes in the top 3 in that race, regardless of whether Forte wins or not.
Almost as important as getting the points is staying ahead of Timmy.
Well, the thing is, I'm like a 3-legged horse now because I don't have my full team because I lost one, and the rules haven't changed yet to give me another horse. So I'm more than willing to put my 4 up against your 5 and still win.
Next week, Timmy. Next week, we're going to let you draft another horse.
Well, the way Hoosier Philly ran, I might only have 4 too.
Well,
yeah, but at least she's still in training, Dale.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe at the midpoint of our competition, we should be able to sell one of our horses and pick up another one.
Oh, now you want to sell one. Now it's
or trade.
Yeah, now it's not about the horses that get hurt. Now it's about the
the ones that get hurt you replace. But I think there should be one time we have like a mulligan and you can get rid of one and bring another one in, just to keep the thing interesting, keep the people happy.
Dale, do you approve?
Yeah, whatever Tim wants to do, I'm fine. He can make the rules. I'll still beat him.
All right. Well, it is 1910, Dale. Yeah, Forte Cyclone Mischief going at it in a brawl in the Florida Derby later today. We'll see if Dale can keep that lead. Okay, time now to wrap up the program as we do every week by the two of you giving one final point. And our friends at West Point are back in the mix again this week, and they'll be with us over the next several months. West Point sponsoring the West Point of the Week. It is all presented by West Point Thoroughbreds, and you can experience the lifestyle of thoroughbred racehorse ownership with the gold standard in racing partnerships for over 30 years. It is West Point Thoroughbreds, and all you have to do is text HORSE to 66866 to learn about ownership with the best. West Point Thoroughbreds, the gold standard in racing partnerships. Message and data rates may apply, but we encourage you to do that now. HORSE to 66866. All right, guys, here we go. Timmy, kick it off. Your West Point of the Week.
Well, I'm glad that West Point is back on board. Great organization, great people. Terry Finley's a great guy. My West Point of the Week, I'm going to give a shout-out to the winners of the Aqueduct Winter Meet. Manny Franco won the top jock, 63 winners. He could have gone to Florida, but he stays in New York, and he's reaped the benefits of that. And Linda Rice was the top trainer with 37 wins, so congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, I just want to say that racing lost a great owner a couple weeks ago in Fred Bray. Jack's a better farm, and he was a good man, a great man. To me, he was always good to me. He had some good horses for him, and lately he's built a major breeding operation in Ocala and Florida. Breeding took a big hit when they lost Fred. So, Fred, rest in peace.
Well, there you have it. Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin. I ask, they answer. Guys, enjoy the weekend. We're going to do it all over again next week. Dale, good luck this weekend, my friend.
Thanks, bud. Talk to y'all next week. Bye.
All right. If you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim debate, simply email it to me, Mike at horseracingradio.net, and I'll work it in the shows ahead. I Ask, They Answer is presented each week by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'll be back with more. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Racing fans, all sights are now set on the Grade 1 $750,000 Run Happy Santa Anita Derby next Saturday, April 8th. Don't miss out on the race that has produced 20 winners of the Run for the Roses. Make your dining and seating reservations now at santaanita.com or by phone at 626-574-RACE. Special early first post time for Santa Anita Derby Day is at 12 noon, and there will be a mandatory payout in the 20-cent Rainbow Pick 6 jackpot with an expected total pool of more than $3 million. Bring the family this weekend, April 1st and 2nd, and next weekend for Santa Anita's annual Infield Spring Carnival featuring pony rides, inflatable jumpers, and much more. Also this weekend, join us in the infield for our Winner's Circle Barbecue Championships. Online packages are available at santaanita.com/events. First post time this weekend is at 1 o'clock. Santa Anita. It's the great race place.
Hi, Tony. Hey, Matthew. There's a reason why Tony's Steaks and Seafood is my favorite restaurant. It's because I want to feel part of the family. Isn't that right, Tony?
That's right. There's a saying on the wall that I truly believe in. There's always room for one more at our table. We just want you to be part of our family.
And believe me, you will be. It's Tony's Steaks and Seafood right across from Triangle Park. Visit them at TonySteaksandSeafood.com.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no. So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that catch-up.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Follow the road to the Kentucky Derby, plus have the latest racing, breeding, sales, industry news and analysis, plus entries, results, race replay videos, and much, much more at your fingertips with the Blood Horse Daily app for your phone, and it's updated throughout the day or delivered daily in an email. Both of those are free. All you have to do is go to bloodhorse.com/daily to download the app or sign up now. Fun segment with Dale and Tim this morning. I got him with that April Fool's thing, didn't I? I knew they wouldn't pick up on that. My thanks to all of our guests for being with me here this morning. A lot of fun talking about the Florida Derby, the Arkansas Derby, looking ahead to Keeneland next week. My thanks to Vance Hanson for the TwinSpires Triple Play and to Kurt Becker for this week's Stroll Through Racing History segment, looking back on the great Hall of Famer Tom Fool. And my thanks to all of you for being with me here this morning, including my producer Lee Delapina in our Lexington studio and Chauncey for handling all of our social media. If you missed any portion of the show, head to our website, horseracingradio.net, to check out the podcast and do it on every major podcast platform. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Mike Penna. We'll talk to you next week here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Go Steelers.